This is how you blend in when you're running drugs and money.
Massive amounts of weed. I get a license to grow at unlimited, 500 pounds every 2 weeks. My job was to set it up. Look like a normal working person. Clean cut, wear nice clothes, have a story. Different driver, different car. Different house, different place, different everything, every time. Once there's a routine, that's when you get caught. Because as a cop, you got 8 hours to figure me out. I got 24 hours to figure out how to get away from you.
You ready, bro?
Yep.
We got an interesting conversation today. Your life, I feel, has just been pure wild chaos, and we're going to dive into that and the journey that you have been on from as a child till now. Before we get started, we're going to send you home with a fresh-baked sourdough loaf from the Sour Bee, which started as a little homeschool project for our youngest. When we pulled him out of school, we wanted to give him something to do and turn into a business. So now I'm in the baking world, along with everything else that I never thought I'd ever be part of. So then I would send you home with an awesome gym shirt from Linear. His name's Chris. He's a Navy veteran that started it. We do something a little bit different. I give veteran, law enforcement, first responder businesses a chance to send us some gear, and we give it to guests. But yeah, he made it all the way through the pipeline of Navy SEAL, becoming a SEAL, and ended up destroying his back, like the last course that he did. Kind of had to figure life out, and then he started this really high-end apparel company. I actually love all his gear. So yeah, we're going to send you home with that and a fresh baked loaf of bread, dude. Travis, we got a conversation ahead of us. So just a little bio about you. Grew up in the Northeast, up in Maine.
Yep.
All-American kid, just played baseball, grew up in a family, had a brother, and mom and dad married. Kind of everything was going along pretty well. And unfortunately, one day, your brother ended up passing away unexpectedly while you were a teenager. And
Yep.
I lost my brother later on in life, but I saw what that did and is doing to our family. And I can only imagine as a losing a teenager, the divide that it just tore into your guys' life. And from there, life kind of turned for you. You ended up getting mono, lost a ton of weight. After your brother passed, your mom put a lot of blame on her for letting the situation happen, which she was a physician at the time.
She's an ER nurse.
ER nurse.
Yeah.
And she ended up self-medicating and writing herself scripts and got deep into the pill game.
Yep.
Along the way, unfortunately, your parents ended up getting divorced.
Yep.
You ended up wanting to chase the baseball pursuit and go off to college, and quickly found yourself going down a different path and found alcohol and drugs, which led to you ended up moving a lot of weight in weed. You were actually kind of a big distribution.
Don't know the name of the movie, but kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And so up in the Northeast, you were moving a lot of weight when it came to drugs, and got you tied into the gang life. You're pretty sure you saw everything that comes along with that dark side of life.
Yep.
Found yourself down a pretty dark path. And during this time, I mean, your mom, you found her twice unresponsive and overdosing in a way. And so that's another thing that's going to weigh on you throughout your life. And eventually you end up meeting this young Christian girl, pursued her, and you ended up eventually marrying her. And then during this journey, she tried to pull you into getting closer to faith and your God, which you fought all those years.
Yep.
Until one day you're in the hospital with your wife and unborn child, and you watch their heartbeats dropping. You watch everything going wrong with your first child's birth, and you got on your knees and you begged God, if he saves your child and your wife, that you'll give your life to him. And not 5 seconds later, the nurse kicked the door in and said, we need to get her into the OR now.
Yep.
And we'll dive into that. So
100%.
let's get started. Travis, who are you? Where are you from?
First of all, I don't want to interrupt, but can we pray?
I would be honored.
Okay. Heavenly Father, thank you for the experience of being here, it all lining up. Whatever your will is from this conversation, whoever it is meant to touch, I pray that it gets to them, it penetrates their soul, and it can heal and help and give motivation for someone to open up your word and be with you and learn about you today. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that.
Will that make it through TSA, you think? The bread?
Right before you guys eat it, or making it through TSA?
I was going to bring it home.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So this is actually our crouton prop that we leave up here.
Oh,
So
it's a prop.
You guys get fresh loaves. You guys
Okay.
get fresh baked
All
loaves.
right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
way better than oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had one up here and it fell and it actually exploded and it took like a whole day of cleaning
Well, if
up.
anyone tries to TP your house, that could be your next thing. Where do you want to start in the story?
Just your
curious.
life, dude. You as a kid, what was it like growing up in the Northeast, up in Maine?
Well, my mom was an ER nurse, and my dad was a police officer.
Oh God, okay.
Local cop. My dad was a police officer, real estate agent, worked for a paralegal company, worked multiple jobs. And we were just what I would call a normal family. Couple vacations a year. Brother and sister. My sister is a couple years younger than me, and my brother we were pretty spread out. If you were to ask me exact ages, I can't really tell you. I suck with that stuff. But
yeah, you told me you had a 6-year-old like 5 times, and your sons have corrected you saying she's 7.
Yeah, right. Time flies, But
that's dad brain.
Terrible,
though.
yeah, terrible with numbers. Like my wife and I miss our anniversary every year.
Same.
Both of us.
Same.
Every year.
Same.
We get a text from my mother-in-law, and she's like, "Happy anniversary," and we're like, "Again."
My wife and I couldn't even tell you the day that we started dating, but we
Yep.
only know our wedding anniversary, because we got married on New Year's. So
That's
it's pretty easy to remember.
good advice for all the young people
Yeah.
out there. So pretty normal. Couple of vacations a year. Mom had a funky schedule because you're a nurse. She could be working at night during the day, and I remember some small things about her. She was like growing up. My mom was like, she was my person. She was super strong, and
Okay.
we just related a lot. I'm not gonna say that I don't have a relationship with my kids, but it's different. It's stronger in different ways with the different kids. And my mother, I had a really strong relationship with. We were very open, and we had a good relationship, and I trusted her, and we talked a lot. So when my brother came along, he came home from the hospital, and like it was almost day one. He was on, nebulizers, all this equipment to keep him alive because of his asthma was so bad.
Okay.
And as a young man, he was on a lot of steroids.
Yep.
So he was a bigger kid, but it was a lot to control. I don't know if you've ever met a child that is on steroids, but it's a lot.
No, for sure.
So our family was kind of focused around that. There's things we could and couldn't do because of that situation. He kind of had to be plugged in at night with his breathing machine, which was fine. I mean, we got through. It was just life as you know it. So
how old are you during this time? What was the year gaps?
So my brother was 5 or 6 years younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we were really young, I didn't really remember it, but it was when I started to get to be in the teen years.
For sure.
And it seems like the asthma got progressively worse as he got older for whatever reason. It's just maybe that's how it seemed to me. Maybe I noticed it more.
Yeah.
But like I was telling you last night, I remember so many rides to the hospital with my mother driving and him in the back, like him turning blue, turning purple, just because of anything. Grass would set it off. Anything could set it off at any time. So we were used to that kind of life,
I mean, so you're in the back seat taking care of your brother is pretty much he's having...
Mom's talking me through it, just like, calm down. It's going to be okay. We just got to do this and that. Like that, I'm sure you know it from military where some people will just be freaking out. She's just like, these are the steps. This is what you do, And she deals with it every day in the ER.
How are you processing that? Did this become a point where it was just almost normal? It was just part of life? I mean, trying to keep your brother alive as your mom's racing to the hospital?
I would say that, I mean, it's not like it happened every week.
Yeah.
It was still something that was
enough.
Yeah, it was like crazy.
Yeah.
I knew that my buddy down the street wasn't dealing with this, you know. And my sister and I kind of had this sense that we kind of need to be around just in case type of thing. Like, don't get me wrong, we all spent the night at our friend's house and we did things with our friends, but we always had that thing like, we should be close. We should be close, for mom and dad or whatever. But when he was doing good, like, you would never know the difference. He was a normal kid. Like when things were good, he'd be out riding his bike, raising hell with his friends. But, when an episode happened, which, like I said, is random.
Yeah.
He'd be in the middle of a soccer game, fall down, get dust in his face, and the next thing you know, he's purple. It was pretty crazy. And my mom had experience with it because she has asthma too, and it's bad. So she knows how to deal with that kind of stuff. So we were very, very careful with it, but at the same time, he's one of those kids, you're not holding him back.
Okay.
Wild. Just absolutely, like, he turns around for 5 seconds in second grade, he's showing his butt to the class. Like, he's that kid, It's like, I don't know if you ever met somebody that seemed like you kind of know beforehand that they might have limited time here because the way that they live, not in a bad way, but it's just like all the time. Like, I lost one of my best friends, not very, like, it's probably been like 6 years now. And he was one of those kids that it was just like, no worries about tomorrow ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I always, that's the way my brother was.
Gotta admire that.
You just, it is 100%. I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I did a little bit more at times.
Yeah.
For
sure.
is like, no, let's focus on the next 6 hours and see what we can do with that rather than, no, we'll just wait till tomorrow,
For sure.
So, that's kind of was our childhood. A lot of sports, a couple family vacations here and there, and parents were busy, super busy, building. My father's father came from not a lot of money, that era when, all you do is work and all you do is grind. So my dad was just like, I want to capitalize. I want to build on what my father has left for us. And always working, always busy, always trying to acquire things and houses. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just something to be proud of, And but I think his biggest regret to this day, we've talked a lot about it, is those times where, like, what's 5 more minutes with your child? Is it worth even $1 million? Like, probably not.
Mm-mm.
I can't imagine it would be. And that's been the greatest piece of wisdom he's given to me. It's just like, dude, I get it. You can go sell a $14,000 job in 3 hours on the weekend, but bring him fishing. You know what I mean? Like, just, this is the best time you're ever going to have.
I learned a lot of that from watching my dad and reflecting more on life, where he didn't teach us very much like handyman skills. He was very talented carpenter. He could do anything, had all the tools, but it was always just, need to get it done. I don't have time. Everything was time for him. And then growing up, it's, my mom was very involved and, did a lot with us. But I look back at it and I was like, all that time he could have been showing us. I could have been working with him. My brother and I could have been learning these skills and having that quality time with your dad as he's working. Instead, we get so busy and wrapped up and everything's go, 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 go. I don't have time for this.
Right.
And he never slowed down. That's one thing I took the opposite of that and breaking that chain. Like, okay, yeah, you can learn this with me. Even though I have young girls and I'm a girl dad, you're going to learn this with me. And at least it's just a skill you can have. And I get to spend that time with them.
Right.
Like my little one, I'm out here building garden beds with. She doesn't want to build garden beds with me.
No, it's the last thing they want.
Oh, well, let's go. We're going to sit here and we're going to talk about horses and all the other crap that she's got going on in her life. But it's just that time. And then we're all not even squared. The things are cut wrong and looks like shit. I'm like, that's got to hold dirt. Good enough, But it was that time that I got to spend with her.
But and then you're gonna, in a year, you're gonna be like, I built it with her.
Yeah,
that's all that matters. It's crooked, but it's good.
Yep.
It's fine. Yeah, I mean, I know my parents are gonna listen to this, and my dad to this day has a hard time running a screwdriver. You know what I mean? But he has his skill set, right?
Yeah.
Like, and a part of me growing in my life is I wanted to learn how to build things with my hands and fix things, and I'm really not the best at it, but I can create a really big mess. I have the right tools and some of the skills, but like the patience definitely isn't there. But yeah. I want them to know, the boys and my daughter to know, oh, you want to make a door work? We can do that ourselves.
Yep.
If you want it to be perfect, well, we'll call a guy for that. But
yep.
if it just general life skills, we can do it. We can change a tire. We can, add oil to the car.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a missing thing, but yeah.
So when did everything come to a head and kind of set the trajectory of your life?
So
how old were you?
So I was a junior year. I remember it was like yesterday. It was junior year. It was preseason for football.
Okay.
I was on the football team. Terrible football team, but we had a blast. And we had double sessions, and a couple of the guys wanted to go over to one of the friends' house that had parents that were like MIA. We could do whatever we want. Well, we all went over there, and they had beer, and we were drinking beer. And I wasn't really one of those kids yet that really did that. I was pretty good. My dad was a police officer.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to make him look like an ass. And I was in a good friend group that loves sports. So it's like we don't have time for this crap.
Yep.
Like all the kids that smoked weed were losers, and that's just the way we thought. And I remember we were upstairs, and I was like halfway through, like it was like my first beer ever. And then I heard the home phone ring. It was like 12:30. And I'm like, oh crap, we're going to get caught. Like his parents are going to catch us. And so the phone rang, she picked it up, and the mom yelled up to me. It was like, you need to come down on the phone. And I remember like it was my grandfather. And he's like, you need to get to the hospital. I'm not going to tell you what's going on. And I remember like cussing him out and like, you need to tell me what is going on. Because if I need to get there, I need to know why I'm getting there. He's like, your brother's being life flighted to Portland, and I need you to come meet me in Augusta right now, and it's not good. And then he hung up, and I'm like, okay, this isn't whatever. I mean, I was like, in my mind again, I'm like, it's another episode. He's going to pull through, and we're going to be fine. Well, we drove down, and long story short, we got to Portland, and my family was there, and I remember looking at my mom, and I knew she knew that it wasn't going to be okay, but she wasn't letting anybody know.
You could tell though.
I could tell. There's one thing I have been my whole life, and I tell the kids this, and I don't know why, but I can tell kind of what somebody's feeling without them even telling me. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, And so I was looking at her, and I was already preparing myself because I already knew. The doctor came in, gave us the news that like, look, there's been severe brain damage. If he came out of it, he would be completely, mentally ill. And they said there's zero brain activity. There's nothing we can do. And it's one of those things. It's like, in like the war movies when like the bomb goes off and you hear that ringing, that's kind of what was going on in my head. Mm-hmm. And I could kind of hear everybody crying and screaming. And in my mind right there, now I know to this day, it was the enemy, but the enemy said, you need to be strong. And then I just immediately put these walls up. Like that second they were built where I could just feel nothing. Like I just cut it off. And I remember talking to my cousin after, and he goes, dude, it's crazy. He goes, you didn't cry one time. And I'm like, and I was proud of that for a long time. You know what I mean? Because
the tough brother.
I'm the tough brother. I drove mom and dad home from the hospital. I this, right? You
thought you were stepping into the man's role at that stage?
100%. For sure. And I felt like a little bit of a badass, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
And so, we got home, and of course, at first, there's all the 100 people at our house every day, and we were, all the cops got together and had like 500 police cars at the funeral, and
because this is a cop's son.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
How long was the drive home with your parents?
40 minutes.
How was there a word spoken?
I remember a Toby Keith song came on the radio, and my father said, "This is what he's saying right now." Like my brother is like saying right now, and it's like that "How Do You Like Me Now" song, and that's all that I remember that was spoken at that time. And so we got back, and I remember they all went to bed, and I just like sat on the porch, and I was like, I don't know what happens from here. Like what happens from here. And one of the things that really bugged me as a young person is so like you said, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but what had happened, just so people understand, is my mother would never let my brother spend the night or go anywhere overnight because of the risk. Because if something happened, she needs to be there, like now. Well, he had this one friend. One kid at his school was allowed to be friends with him because he was a lot. Like I told you, he was a lot. And this is why I'm so for the underdogs on their teams and everything. The troubled kid is because this one family gave him a chance, right? Because deep down, he's a good kid. He's just a lot. He needs to be outside. They need to be climbing trees and acting like maniacs. And so he begged her every single night, can I go spend the night at David's house? Can I go spend the night at David's house? And she's like, no. Finally, my dad was like, just let him go. And she's like, okay, you can go. And that, he never came home. First time spending the night at a friend's house, he didn't come home. So now my mom knows he never should have spent the night there. And in her heart, I feel like she thinks she could have saved him if he would have been home. But she let him go.
For sure.
But at the same time, you can't have a bubble boy. You can't have a kid that you just keep in a cage for his whole life, because that would create a host of other issues.
Absolutely.
Right? So she's dealing with all this. And the biggest part I had, back to the sitting on the porch, is I was like, I want to know what happened. What happened? Like, what caused it? What happened? And so this person's house that they were over, they were doctors. So that's why my mom let them go. It's like, these two, husband and wife, are doctors. These are here's the standard operating procedure if something happens. Well, I asked multiple times, the son, the daughter, the family, what happened? And we never got an answer. We never got an answer on what happened. And I would have been okay if I would have gotten an I don't know. We just came in and he was blue. All right, I get that. No, I get it. But no answer. They end up all moving. He goes to boarding school in like England. The daughter goes to Australia. The family, mother and dad, separated shortly after this.
So it destroyed that family as well?
Yeah. But that was before us, right? They all fragmented. Still to this day, like, I mean, I hit the kid up like probably 2 years ago on Facebook. I'm like, hey man, I'd love to talk to you. Just like talk, just to see how you're doing and like whatever. Not that I need answers or anything, right? But my mom never got that closure. I don't think my dad wanted it. I mean, he probably did, but maybe didn't. Like, he didn't want to reopen that wound, is my guess. But
I wonder if that almost has the same effect of like a missing child that you don't ever have answers to, even though
for me it did. For me, I wanted to know, because my the doctor said his lung was collapsed, right? Which that's not an asthma attack.
No.
Usually. That's usually, I mean, horse playing, whatever, messing around. And I remember vaguely my mom saying that it looked like there was something in the x-ray that was in there. So I just was like, I wanted to talk to the kid and be like, what the heck happened? I don't know. But
did he ever get back to you?
No.
Okay.
No. And I know that they all are dealing with some dark stuff. I believe to this day. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I put those walls up, and that it pushes all those feelings somewhere. Right? Like after the death, because I felt like I needed to be strong. I need to be strong for my friends. I need to be strong for my family. And the only time I ever let it out was when I had a buzz on drinking.
Did you ever see your dad cry? Did he ever get emotional over this?
Not that I remember. Not something that a little bit, probably.
I'm going to ask you this question because it's something that affected me during my brother's death.
Yeah.
Did your family ever talk about it and sit down and hash out the trauma and everything that everybody went through with losing a son? Was there any of that? Not
until recently.
See, nobody talked about it. I was talking to my wife about it the other night. When my brother died, we went out to dinner that night. It was the most awkward dinner I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah.
That was it.
And like
nobody's ever sat down and just It's almost and that's how I was raised. Though. That's why my wife does everything she can to get me out of my shell because I close off.
Yeah.
But my whole family just suffers in silence. I mean, it divided.
It's like it didn't happen. Right.
But that's almost goes back to my whole life. And my dad was his problems and violence and abuse and whatever else may be. But nothing was ever talked about. Nobody. So that's why I asked that question.
It wasn't talked about until recently.
What's recently?
My mom got baptized 2 years ago.
Okay.
Right about then.
So it's been years. A couple decades since you guys ever brought the death of your brother up.
And it's odd, and I tell my wife this, it's not like a prideful thing at all. I actually hate it. It's like I have to be the one that initiates all of these weird conversations and things.
For sure.
Because I'm sitting back like, you guys are acting like everything's normal. This isn't normal.
Yeah.
Like we're all suffering and we're pretending like we have these faces on. And like as a family, the thing became after years is like we drink together. That's what we did. We would drink, and it became his memorial became a party. I mean, I'm talking about a party. 400 people there, drinking, remembering. And then I just remember sitting there one time, and when I would drink, I would get emotional. That's the only time I let it out.
Yeah.
I would drink, I would fight, and then I would cry. It's just, I don't know. It sounds like, my buddies tell me you belong in the military.
I was going to say sounds like a very Navy thing to do.
Yeah.
No,
so I remember sitting there after
me.
one of the events, and we've had people get drunk driving, leaving our events. We've had people crash. We've had people fight. And I'm like, look at the destruction we're causing from our pain.
For sure.
Let's turn this thing around and make this into something good. So then we kind of flipped the memorial on its head. And yeah, we don't have the people we used to have anymore. But it's not about that.
What happened inside of your family after the funeral?
It's one of those odd things where you feel kind of good after the funeral in this weird way. It's like, look at all this attention. I bet you there was thousands of people there, and in Maine, that's a big funeral. And after that, it kind of was like everybody went away.
For sure.
Everybody went away.
Almost like the world forgets immediately.
The world forgets. But they also treat me like I'm some kind of patient all the time. Treading lightly, like treating me like, oh, don't say anything that might upset him, like from my buddies' parents and dads. And it's like, I don't want special treatment. Like, and so went into it, and everybody just kind of compartmentalized everything and didn't really talk about it, and kind of went on with life. And I watched it building up in my mom, and I watched it building up in my dad, and I could tell it was eating away at my mom, and she held this guilt that, I don't know, man, it's so powerful I think she thought she could hold it in and be okay. And my dad didn't know how to, we talked about this last night, is I don't know how you would ever, there's some things that have never been dealt with, right? How would you know? I wouldn't know how to deal with losing a child if I didn't lose my brother. And I'm not saying I would know how to deal with losing a child, but I would know I need to suck it up, probably bawl my eyes out in my room and sit those boys down or the girls down and say, what's going on?
And no one ever had these conversations with you.
Well, after a couple of years, I started getting into a little bit of trouble at school. Just typical boy stuff. I don't want to sit in class and blah, blah, blah. They hired this lady. At the time, it was a therapist, I guess, but she was like in charge of getting me back on track with school. And she ended up putting all this crap in my head. Like it didn't matter what I did. I wasn't going to make it through school. I wasn't going to play baseball. I shouldn't be playing baseball. Come to find out, she told my mother she should divorce my dad because she wanted to be with my mom.
This therapist?
Yes.
Well, didn't see that coming.
Me either. So they would send me to the school with her during the summer for a couple hours. And then she ended up being like, hey, in order to fix your family, you need to divorce your husband. And my mom's like, what? And then come to find out after many more meetings and conversations, this woman was like trying to court my mother.
And this is your therapist?
It was like something like that. I don't know what she exactly was. I'd have to call my mom.
Life coach, something?
It was just from the school. They said, you should hire this lady to help him get through class and summer school and therapist type of thing. And
that's wild.
And all this stuff as a kid, I'm dealing with it in my mind because I'm not going to say that we were like, it was a different time.
For sure.
Like, we would wait to watch our TV show at 8 o'clock because that's when it came on.
Yeah.
I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a cell phone. So I knew that there was gay people. I knew that there was affairs because it happens on TV.
Uh-huh.
But in my mind, I'm like, and I got so angry because I was so confused.
Oh, for
and
sure.
It was never talked about. Like, this stuff was like never talked about. We kind of joked about it. My dad would joke about it because that's kind of what they did in the policing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, they'd just be like, yeah, well, and so I'm like, all right, no, I'm confused. But yeah, so that went down, and my mom ended up firing her, getting rid of her. My mom was like, no, we're not doing this, whatever. And so my sister found her boyfriend, her husband now. They've been together forever, like since 6th grade. And so she was spending a lot of time over there, and I'm grateful for Jake because he had no idea how to deal with what we were going through.
This is your sister's boyfriend.
At the time, yeah, husband now. But he knew how to protect.
Okay.
And he did that.
Good.
Really well.
Good.
And she had a safe place because there was partying going on. There was craziness going on in her friend group, and she had a place. And he lived. He wasn't really a party guy. He was a farmer. That's what they did. So it was a great place. So when I was dealing with all my crap, I knew she was safe. That's one thing that really, I was like, okay, this is fine. And I know at times she was scared shitless about stuff that I was doing, for sure.
For sure.
Because, if there's a party going on, had my name written all over it.
So with your mom, taking all of the blame,
took all the blame,
that it was her fault that her son passed.
Yep.
When did she start to spiral? Because that's a lot for a mom to weigh, and obviously it's not her fault. But when did you start to see the shift in her life?
So she didn't come out and tell us this until we were in high school, but she was adopted too.
Okay.
Doesn't know her real parents.
What do you mean adopted too? Who else was adopted?
She was adopted. On top of all of this, she's dealing with, she was adopted, doesn't know her real parents.
Okay.
So that kind of plays into all of this self-doubt type of thing. And I mean, it's where her strength comes from too. She's lived with this her whole life, feeling like she doesn't belong. So her and my father, and I don't know exactly, I think it was just a death of a million cuts or whatever, but they just started, like, I guess you would say, drifting apart. Mm-hmm. And my dad was like, no, I'm never getting a divorce. This is just, even if this is living hell, we're not doing that. And so they kind of, I don't know. Like I said, at this point, I was at the end of high school, getting ready to go to college, and my house between my parents was chaos. And I was just like, kind of in and out, but my sister was safe, so why would I go back there? I don't need to go back there, right? Yeah. It's just, so they ended up splitting up, not officially getting divorced, but splitting up, and my dad started seeing other people just because he thought it might help or whatever, and like I said, drinking, and Mom, she suffers in silence. You know, she's one of those people that she won't let her pain hurt anybody else around her. So
Most moms.
so that's when I don't know what it was, you know. I'm sure it was like a antidepressant or something that she found, and she was taking that, and she would come see me, and I felt so bad. I remember telling her one day, I was like, I don't know who you are, but you're not my mom. Like, you're not the person that raised me. And I said, I don't know what is going on, but I want her back. And then she would like show up at my apartment from time to time. This was when I transitioned into college, and I know she was worried about me, but I remember, and I hope she's all right with me sharing this. I remember one day she's so depressed at everything that had happened, and she was a nurse, so she knew exactly what she was doing, and she took way too many pills, and she just took them all, and she ate them, and she was driving, and she cried out to God and said, if you're real, if you want me to live, then save me. And she's driving down the road, blah, blah, blah. And my aunt called her. And my aunt it's my dad's sister. We're feuding because she, on my dad's side, you take your sibling's side no matter what, and you go to war and screw the other person. You know what I mean? It's not, they were like, my mom is out.
Yeah.
My mom's like, wow, why is she calling me? She opens up the phone. Aunt Lisa, she goes, I just want to tell you, if you need anything, I'm here and I love you. So my mom freaking, I'm guessing puked up the pills, you know what I mean? Was like, okay, you know? And I'm not going to say it immediately got better after that, but I find it interesting. It was like the same prayer that I prayed for my son to live. It was like, God, if you're real, then do this thing, you know? But yeah, I watched her spiral down. I watched my dad start drinking a lot and hanging out with people he shouldn't have been really hanging out with either. And no one was processing anything. Yeah. And I know that they saw some therapists and stuff, but all that was a game to get them on something and, sure. and basically give each other time and all this crap. And we had religious people I call them religious people, not Christian people in our lives, giving all this great advice, but it's like, what are you guys even doing? This sounds great, but what does that even, pray about staying together? What do you mean? Like, make it make sense to somebody that has no clue what you're talking about. And so, yeah, I mean, Mom struggled. I know there was a time when she didn't want to be here. And for me, I was like, well, if not for anything else, why not us? There's 2 kids left.
Did that weigh on you that you're not important enough for your mom to want to stay here to be present for you?
My thing in my mind was, if this thing can break the strongest person in the world that I know, how weak am I? Like, I remember times when I was a child watching my mother not eat so we could, right? Like, and it being okay with it. I remember my mother, because we wanted some drinks and snacks before school, spending money. She didn't, being the lady paying with change, because she just wanted us to feel okay. Like, that kind of strength. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if
this can break her, then
what is this life even? What are we doing? And then there was the other thing. It's like, well, I understand. I lost a brother too, and I lost my sibling, and you lost your son, but me and Lauren are still here. Mm-hmm. And that was hard for me to understand. I didn't understand. And of course I was selfish
so your mom doesn't
kid.
want to be here. Are you finding her overdosed? Is there more than one attempt? I mean, what?
It was like, I think what happened is she had what she had. And like, so during this whole thing, she moved in with my grandparents, like her adoptive parents. Yeah. And I would call to check on her, like, I don't know, a couple times a week because I was in college, and they wouldn't let me talk to her. And they were like, no, she doesn't need to talk to anybody right now. Cause like it got to the point where she didn't have a phone. They had a house phone. Right. And I was like, I just want to make sure my mom is okay. That's all. The only reason I'm calling, I'm making sure. Yeah, your mother's fine. Can I speak to her? Can I please talk to her? No, you don't need to talk to her right now. And I'm the type of dude where you do that to me, I'm never talking to you again. And I know to this day that hurts my mom because I'll talk to them, but it isn't going to be like, hey, grandpa, come over here. Right? It's like, I'm your grandchild.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what I need to hear. I don't know how to say it any other way than that,
sure.
but
You don't know how to
be a
process
grandparent.
it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm literally out there in Portland, in the city, by myself. Like, I could have called my dad and asked him for help or support or something, but he has his own host of shit going on. My mom is self-medicating, and I can't even talk to her and see if she's okay. But I know my sister's safe. So I'm like,
so you're on your own.
I'm on my own.
So from the death of your brother,
yeah,
you were pretty much filtered out of everybody's lives in a natural type of way of disaster.
But I did it because I was the tough one.
Yeah.
I didn't, they really thought, I don't think they really thought that I needed it.
Meanwhile, you're putting on the image that you're good.
I'm happy.
And
I'm
obviously that generation of parents, they have no idea how to communicate or even think about anybody else besides themselves most of the time. So,
and they didn't know that every time they saw me, I was 6 beers deep, and I was happy because all that shit was.
Because you're self-medicating.
For sure.
So your mom's self-medicating, you're self-medicating, your dad's turned to alcohol.
Yeah.
Your sister's probably the only one that's doing okay because she has a boyfriend in her life that was there for her as a foundation.
She's probably doing okay, but like looking back at it, she sees all of us.
For sure. Spiraling.
And she's like, holy crap. Right? I don't know. It'd be interesting. Like I haven't talked about that, which would be probably a really good thing to talk with her about at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, all this is going on. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, hey, I feel like there's a storm brewing. You know what I mean? Like, this could only go along for so long before something
gives.
Right.
Or someone.
And I ended up, I drank and I could talk, so I ended up talking my way into rooms I shouldn't have been in, and I ended up meeting this guy that has a bunch of apartments and owns half of Portland at the time. And he's like, hey, kid, I like you, like old school kind of mafia type of guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I like you, kid. You should come hang out. And he kept inviting me over for all these poker games. He'd hanging out, not buying me a lot of stuff, but he'd help me out. Oh, I was like, hey, rent, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I own that building. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. You have food? Buy me food if we needed food.
So this dude now is stepping into your life almost as a male role model, a male figure, because you don't have a dad, you lost your brother, your whole family's falling apart.
Yeah.
So this dude's showing you a little bit of structure and stability.
And I'm like, okay. I mean, this is cool. And he's like, do you need a job? I was like, yeah, I do need a job. I mean, because at this point, I was living in Portland. I got done playing baseball. I only played half a year. Got mono, got sick, stopped playing baseball, started partying a lot. So I was in the party mode, and he's like, I was like, yeah, I could use a job. He goes, well, I need somebody to just go collect rent and then, bring it back to me. I'm like, oh, at first it was no big deal. Like I'd go knock on these doors and I'd be like, hey, they don't have it. Or hey, they have some part of it. And I'd kind of keep a list and I'd give it to them. And
whose doors are you knocking on? What type
tenants.
of people?
Low income, mostly at first. It was just like low income, poor, Munjoy Hill in Portland. It was kind of like a slummy white trash area.
Okay. So you're not collecting on like restaurants and local businesses type of stuff.
No,
okay.
These are like, this is like kind of close to Section 8 stuff.
Okay.
And, then all of the Somalis, he started moving them in. And I was like, okay. And then at the same time, I'd go do my thing. I'd collect his money and we'd hang out and play cards at night. And then I started noticing like there was different players coming around, and then my mind really started working when I'm like, dude, I collected like $1,400 in rent today, and like these dudes are like balling out, like Mercedes cars, and I'm like, all right. So now I'm thinking, what's going on here? And then I started asking questions, and he's like, I just want to let you know that once you know, you can't not know anymore. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I want to know. So he started revealing to me his the real business
which was
selling massive amounts of weed before it was legal. And I'm sure other things, but I did not get exposed to the other side of it at all, if there was another side. And so he told me his master plan was to move these Somalis in because he's got $5,000 per month per room. So some of these apartments had 2 rooms, 10 grand a month in 2009, 10, which is great money. Mm-hmm. Today, it's probably great. And so he converted all these places, brought all these Somalis in, but when they brought them in, they didn't understand these guys are mortal enemies. You know, there's 2 different tribes. They haven't assimilated.
In the Somali community?
No, this is when they first landed.
Yeah, who are they beefing with?
Each other.
Oh, okay. So he's putting rival tribes of Somalis in the same apartments together?
So there's like one in this 8 unit, and then you go one driveway of separation, and then the others are over there.
And they're beefing.
Oh.
How is that? What does Somali wars look like?
Dude, blood everywhere all the time.
Really?
Yeah. So
what are they doing?
Like
knives and
breaking car windows, and stabbing each other with the glass. Anything and everything all the time. All of the time. So basically, this guy was making, I mean, probably like $200K a month off of like housing these Somalis, right? But then I remember bringing this to him is like, I went and there was a huge fight one night. There's blood everywhere, all over the place, and they get an ID from the state.
Okay.
And there was 4 IDs on the ground. And the names are like 36 letters long.
Yeah, the alphabets.
All the same birthday, January 1st. And I'm like, this is kind of weird. They're all born on January 1 because they don't know their birthday. So I was like, I brought the IDs in after I'd collected rent. And he goes, oh, they're untraceable by the police. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. Because the cops are just like, it was a Somali. So then he was like, I want you to get these guys to collect my drug money because they can't be persecuted by the law. If they kick down a door and rob somebody, who was it? Right?
No shit.
Yeah.
So now you're using these Somali immigrants to collect drug money because they can't. I mean, what happens if they get caught? Nothing.
So this guy was so smart that he would never tell me why we were breaking into one of his apartments and taking everything that they have. Because if I knew, then I could tell. But he told me, tell 3-4 of them to roll up on that house, give them $100 in cash, and take everything that they can take.
You drive them there?
No, everything was on foot. It was within a couple miles. Yeah. Everything was within a couple of miles. I'm talking about $1,000. You know, they owe him $1,000 for some weed or something.
And he's cleaning their whole homes out?
100%.
Are these normal people or are these all Somalis? Because he's dealing...
The Somalis are collecting the money from the guys flipping weed. So it'd be like some dirtbag 21-year-old, right, that gets a half a pound of weed fronted to him. At the time, it was probably like $2,000, $2,500. And they wouldn't respond. And he'd be like, all right, go roll up. And whether it was...
Are they fighting these dudes?
The Somalis?
Yeah. Are they beating
If they have to, they will. But this is
okay. I'm tracking now. So you're running this Somali ring.
Yeah.
So you have this little gang of Somali pirates,
essentially,
that are in your town, and when the dudes that are dealing the weed out in town aren't paying your boss,
I'm guessing it's weed. But
whatever.
Yes.
You would take these Somalis to the houses to beat up, collect
rent.
And collect rent.
Yeah.
Because if they got the cops called on them, they're just a bunch of Somali immigrants.
They just run
And then this dude's also tapping into the government's funds.
Yeah.
So he's getting grants to have these Somalis living in his slum houses that he's also using the Somalis to collect drug money.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but this is what I was told, is all the damage that they do, he then owned a contracting company to fix the damage and collect the insurance after they stored their chickens and shit in the apartments.
He's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah.
What else? This is just the tip of the iceberg. What the fuck else has this guy got going on?
So at that time, he owned...
Okay, hold on before we get into that. What's it like collecting drug money from people that aren't paying? Is it kind of fun?
Yeah. It's definitely fun.
Like, what do you guys do? You just get away with stuff? Because, I mean, these people aren't calling the cops on you. They're obviously owe you for drug money. So, I mean, they can't call the cops and be like, hey, they stole my drug money that I didn't pay them
So here's
back.
the play. Like, Portland PD is extremely understaffed.
We're talking Portland, Maine.
Portland, Maine, extremely understaffed. You
Okay.
probably got anywhere from 3 to 5 cops on.
How many people in Portland?
I don't know, probably 30,000,
Jeez, okay.
maybe. I don't know, something like that. And when shit gets popping downtown at like 10 to 2 a.m.,
That's where all the cops are?
they all have to be down there.
Oh, so you're doing these robberies, air quoting that, at night?
Mm-hmm.
While people are home, not home?
Oh, definitely. Definitely home. 100% home. But all the cops are downtown.
Are these armed robberies? Or anybody armed?
Not at first. But
There?
you've dealt with people from other countries.
For sure.
Shit gets out of control. You can't do anything. So then these guys started like, instead of just rolling in and like stealing stuff, and they started causing harm.
How?
Stabbing, beating,
Machetes?
just whatever they could. Like, dude, when they started stealing guns is when I stopped. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Who were they stealing guns from? The people they're robbing?
Yes. Yes.
So now you're almost helping these Somalis build their own gang.
Dude, yes. Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
But you didn't see it going that way for a while.
Dude, I just had a dude that was like, I guess I thought we were friends. And he was just like, hey, I need you to help me out with this. Help these, and I'm like, I'll help. I'll do. Like I told you, I'm always that guy. Like, what do you need? This is what he needed. So I was solving a problem. And like, you get in this weird mindset when you're into something where you're like, yeah, these guys owe money. Screw them. Like, you should have paid.
Like a loyalty thing.
You should have paid.
It's principle.
You should have paid, right? And so,
are you going into these people's houses when you're collecting?
Nope.
Are you just sitting outside? Or are you down the street?
Drop them off and leave. The less you know, the better. Is what he always said. Just get him to the door. Just tell him the door and then go away. Yep. And then...
Oh, shit.
And then at the end of it, I ended up becoming a really good friend with one of them. And he used to come to my apartment and we would talk.
The Somali?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he told me, he goes, this is getting out of control. You're going to get killed. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, these guys, these people, they're savages. They have no loyalty. They said that they know you call all the shots and they think you have the money. Because obviously they never get to meet the guy at the top. There's just no way that ever happens.
Absolutely.
That's just not good. And then I remember my apartment was right in town, like where I told you all the cops hang out in the bar area. And I remember one night there was and this is when it turned, when everything got out of control, is there was like 30 Somalis outside of this bar, and the bartender, the bouncer was like, I'm not letting you in. I know what's going to happen. Like, this place is going to be destroyed. Because for whatever reason, dude, when they drank, it was like, I don't know, something like you'd never seen. Cars would get flipped and shit in town. Like, I don't know. You hear about it with different cultures drinking it. That is one where...
I usually get canceled over making comments like this because I've traveled the world.
Right.
And there are most people that take offense to this are just ignorant Americans that have never traveled. The Somali culture is a very interesting culture.
Well, they shot the bouncer right on site for not letting him in. And I was right there, like right at the bottom of my door, because I like saw something going on, and I know what's going on in the city. Like I got my hand on the pulse pretty good.
And you know all these dudes that are in this crowd. And
I don't know all of them, but I
maybe?
know the leaders of each group. There's always a leader, and then you know.
So now that these two rival gangs are kind of established in your town, I mean, and this is when it starts to get kind of ugly. Now,
Where it got ugly is when they decided that they were going to work together, because now they have
power.
Not that they have power, is they got a thing going on. They started collecting on their own.
Oh,
They started kicking doors in on their own. They started stealing on their own. You know what I mean? And then I'm looking around like, how do you solve this? Do you go the PD can't handle this. You call in the National Guard and admit to them what has been going on. You know.
Okay, so at what point did you realize this has gone too far?
Well, I told him. I told the boss man, and I said, look, people are now getting killed, and people are getting really hurt. I said, this is the time to just back out. Like you guys are clearly got some good things going on here. You got a couple of Mercedes. You got, you're smoking cigars with the boys in your $2,000 suits. I see it all. I don't think you want to be a part of this. And he really took what I had to, my opinion, because I was telling him what was going on, and he agreed. And he kicked them all out of all those tried to, but kicked them all out of those apartment buildings. And that's when he fixed them all up and then got his insurance money. But now they're on the street.
So now you have just houses of Somalis running the streets. How was that?
Insane. Shit lit on fire everywhere. Like
they eating people's dogs and shit. Did you guys ever have that? Wasn't that a thing for a while where all these Somalis in these towns were like killing people's dogs and eating them and cats and
shit? They kill everything. Anything that's edible. I mean, but like the ghetto area where they put them.
Yeah.
There's a nice part of town called the Old Port, and it's where all the ships used to come in, and it's nice and it's old. They just stealing it, so I don't remember exactly what they did, but there's a pretty big police force in the area, kind of helped clean that up for a little while. And the boss, he said, you want to move to the other side of the business? It's a little cleaner. I was like, what does that mean? He goes, well, I just need a driver. I just need someone to drive to Philly. And I was like, yeah, okay, check, get it. I'm not an idiot. What am I doing? So he told me what I was doing, transporting this and that. And I said, what if I...
What's this and that?
Weed.
Okay.
Massive amounts of weed. And I said, what if I just facilitate it and I don't go? What if I find the driver? Because he really liked the way that I thought with that. He was like, I don't want to drive to Philadelphia for $1,000. I was like, I'll just make all this shit happen. So my job was to set it up. So I would set everything up. You load up here. This is what you do. You don't stop here. You don't go through a toll booth, because the toll booths have a blue band reader on them, and they can tell that you have $100,000 in cash. You have to go around the toll booth, because I've had guys get pulled over from going through the toll booth with cash, and they'll say, where are those $1,500, $100 bills that you went through the toll booth?
Toll booths can read cash like that?
Blue band, the new $100 blue bands? Yeah, 100%.
What?
100%.
There's no way.
100%. Yeah.
You roll through a toll booth with a large amount of cash, they can scan that?
It notifies them. It doesn't only scan it, it notifies them.
I've never heard this before.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
This is legit?
This is 100% legit.
I've never heard this before.
I had a guy get pulled over coming from New Hampshire to Maine, and there's certain toll booths. It's one of the newer ones. He rolls through it, and it was like half a mile later, he gets pulled over. Cop pulls in, and he goes, "Where's the money?" And he goes, "You have whatever it was. It was like $100 bills at least in this car." And the guy goes, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, you rolled through the toll." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then luckily on the side, he was an electrician and just pulled all of his money out of a New Hampshire bank. And he was like, "Here's my bank statement. I just withdrew all this I'm moving to Maine." It happened to be one of those things where it was shit luck, because there was definitely weed money in there for sure. And now he notifies me, and I'm like, check. Okay. Can't go through tolls, right? You can't go through certain parts of the state because like getting through New Hampshire was always living hell. Like it's just that pinch point. There's a bridge between Maine and New Hampshire, and at that part, right? When you get down past Massachusetts, there's so many people. It just doesn't matter. There's just a mass amount of human beings where you just blend in if you blend in, right? Just
so how many drivers you got working for you?
I tried to keep it to like one.
Okay.
One, like 2 guys, but like 1 car.
Okay.
Right. So like we'd buy an old cop car, like an old Ford SUV. And it looks like undercover. Still has old, like better, like old light bars and shit. Best, right?
That's smuggling money and shit. They're running drugs.
Yeah, it looks like an undercover cop.
That's actually a really smart idea.
Yeah, and then for a little while, we bought a like not a Mercedes Sprinter, but like the Transit, and we lettered it up Plumbing and Heating Company, and then we put like the boxes of like the like heat, like a furnace would come in it, so it looked like all the equipment, the tools, and everything were in there in case the guys got pulled over.
And you're just running drugs.
Just running weed to Philly, and then to Texas.
That is, I've never realized like that's the smartest thing. You probably go to an auction and buy an old cop car that still has the bumper and lights and shit on it. Not the red and blues, but
so like back in the day when this first started, like you just got to think of it like this: you take a pound of weed in Maine and it's $2,000. Texas, it's 5,500. Now times it by 500 pounds.
Why is it more in Texas? You think it'd be cheap with all?
No, it's more illegal.
Oh,
the risk.
Okay.
And this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
So like it was legal in Maine, right? And then the further south you get, depending on where you want to go,
by the Bible Belt, you're making a lot more money there.
Right. But like you don't want to go Atlanta, or you don't want to go anywhere around there because you're stepping on someone's toes. So there's always this risk. There was always a risk back then because you didn't know the people buying, right? So like, are the drivers going to get kidnapped? Are they going to just steal the product? Is like one time we had, it was like 400 grand coming back, and the dude had cut up, like it was like similar material to like a Bible. So it looked like stacks of bills, and we got back, it was just like magazines, and it looked like cash, no cash.
How did that go over?
I had one of the guys got pulled over with 125 pounds in the back of his car. Drug dog came out, sniffed all around, never got it.
What?
Dude, insane. Yeah.
I've honestly heard so many stories about guys like that. They're like, dude, I had 1,200 ecstasy pills, and like
pills could be I could understand that, but weed, dude, that's the hardest thing because it smells so damn bad.
For sure. You
could smell it from like the airport from here. But I got really, really, really enamored in that life. Like it's
okay. So what are some of the tricks that you're doing while you're running? Where you have these guys running drugs all over the U.S. for you?
What do you mean tricks?
To not get caught, or is it just a hope and prayer every single time you send these guys on the road?
No, it's like making sure, weirdly enough, they're sober, clean cut, wear nice clothes, have a story. Why are you going to Philly? What are you doing? Are you going to visit your parents, or have an address? Who are you going to see? What are you going to do? And then teaching them they need to believe the story. Because if you get, getting pulled over by a cop, no, you do the speed limit. You travel only certain times. You don't travel when there's not rush hour traffic. Get in rush hour traffic and just let it take another 5 hours. Because you're just blending in. Yeah.
You're not burning in the middle of the night.
No, that's the last thing you want to do. No, like that's it's just, look like a normal working person.
This is how you blend in when you're running drugs and money.
100%, unless you're an idiot. Because I knew other people that did it, that sucked at it and got caught, right? Like they just wanted to look the part. And I was teaching these guys, you don't want to look the part. I want a 55-year-old man wanting to go play golf in Philly. And like, do you really like golf? I'll pay for you to go like play a course down there So that way your story lines up. But just don't let them see the $1 million in cash in the duffel bag in the back.
Okay, so are these guys bringing the money back to you? Or are you guys sending money? Where's the drugs? Are you guys growing the drugs and distributing?
So at first
them
it's
there?
just distribution, right?
Okay.
And before Maine comes legal, it's just selling.
Where are you guys getting the weed from?
It's coming in on a plane from Cali.
Really?
Yeah.
They're just flying it right into like a private airport.
Flying into a private airport, which there's a bunch of small dinky little airports in Maine, and then transported by the local police department to the house.
What do you mean transported by the
Like pay the cop off to just let the car go by.
Hold on a second.
The average income in Maine for a cop is probably $40K, 45 grand.
So this guy's paying the cops.
You dish them.
And your dad's a cop.
Yeah.
Is your dad in on this?
No.
That'd be cool if it was, but that would be wild. I had to ask, but you never know. So you guys are flying tons of weed in to up in Maine.
Yeah.
The cops are just letting you guys roll by because you're
certain ones.
How much yeah, of course. How much are these cops taking to turn a blind eye to you?
20K.
A year or a load?
Probably 20K in cash.
Yeah, I'd probably take 20 grand just to not be on 100%.
In cash, if you're making 40?
Yeah, 100%. I'd take 20 grand all day.
Yeah,
as a cop up in Northeast Maine.
Well, then, you gotta play it off like it's not a lot. Like I can't pay you a ton. It's not a lot of product. But I can give you 20K in cash. Oh yeah, it's not a lot of weed. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, whatever.
Is that how they justify it in their mind? And it's not. Well, it's not meth.
Well,
it's
the risk. You just relay to them that the risk isn't that bad because it's not a lot. It's like 3 pounds of weed, dude. Whatever. Oh yeah. Meanwhile, it's like add a zero, like 2 zeros to that. Like the back of the truck is full.
Holy crap!
Yeah, and then the legal industry came to Maine, right? Where you pay $1,200 and you can grow unlimited amounts of weed, and now it's still illegal in Texas and all of the Bible Belt states, right? So I pay $1,200, I get a license to grow it unlimited. Pretty much is the way that the law read. It was so gray. And then now instead of paying dude in Cali $3,000 a pound, I'm growing it for $500. Still charging the dude down south the same.
So now you just increase profits by
$5 million a year or whatever, probably.
How much money do you think you were making at your height?
This is the worst part about the entire thing is like at the end of it, I didn't really make shit because I was doing something for somebody I thought liked me. You know what I mean? Like I was a part of the team, which meant more to me than cash. I've seen $2 million in cash in a duffel bag, and it was cool, but I didn't care. I just solved the problem.
But you're not making it.
No, I'm not making it. No, I'm just like, I got to do some cool stuff. Like, what do you do with that amount of cash? Like, how do you make it into something real? That's another one of the problems that I was to solve, right?
How to filter this money?
Right.
Oh, so so now that you guys are making all this cash, you have to figure out how to wash the cash?
So what he would do, like early 20s, right? He goes, get 4 of your buddies together, go down to the casino, dump 30 grand into the casino, go lose a couple $1,000, take your chips, cash it out, give me the checks.
So you guys so you're working for his mob guy that's literally giving you tens of thousands of dollars. You get to go to casino, gamble for the night, and then just cash in whatever's left of the cash and the chips.
You could lose like $2 grand. $2,000.
But still,
he pays
$2 grand
for the
to go
room.
play for the night. It's fun.
Pays for the room. The account, his account is on the whole, like the night, the bar tab. Go have fun. Bring me the checks back.
How often do you get to do that?
Sometimes twice a month.
Just enough.
How
else are you guys filtering money? How are you
real estate?
Oh, you're buying houses.
This
is why he's got all these little slums, these little Section 8
rent
housing.
money.
Damn, dude, this dude is an entrepreneur, big time. So he's got He's running drugs. He's running money. He's filtering his money by buying real estate.
At the time, legit business wise, I bet you he was worth $100 million, and he just liked the rush. It's literally in his blood. Like, his family is related to the Bulgers.
I don't know who the Bulgers are.
Look it up. Watch the documentaries on them. It's like old school Boston Mafia guys, like the OGs, like Al Capone types down there.
Yeah.
And it's in his blood. And he just used to always tell me that. Like, I don't care. He was like, I don't care if I sell a pound of weed and make $100. He goes, it's just a feeling. You can't get it anywhere else.
Oh, he was addicted to that.
Oh, he was. He was.
What's the craziest shit you did with him or for him?
In what way? Like, amount?
I guess
Because the amounts were a lot.
Okay, so what's the largest amount of weed that you guys were moving or money you guys were making for this guy?
When it got to the peak, it was probably like 500 pounds every 2 weeks.
You're moving 500 pounds of weed every 2 weeks?
Right around there, probably.
What's that worth on the streets?
At the time, depends on where it goes. But if you want to go for like a straight number, you say $3K.
A pound?
Yeah. So 500 times 3K.
What, $1.5 million?
Yeah, that's what I've got.
I'm a Marine, so don't hold me to that one. But so you're turning $1.5 million every other week?
Yeah.
In weed?
Yeah.
You got drivers just okay. So when you send the drivers off with the weed, they're bringing the cash back.
No.
You're just dumping. How's he getting
1 week? You give him a week, and then you go get it. The money. Different driver, different car. You never want them together. You never want them knowing. Different house, different place, different everything every time. It can never be the same. Once there's a routine, that's when you get caught. Because as a cop, you got 8 hours to figure me out. I got 24 hours to figure out how to get away from you. So that's the way I would look at it. If I was my dad was a cop, I'd say I'd grill him. He'd be like, yeah, I'll go up to Hanford and find a guy selling weed. I'm like, all right, tell me what you look for.
Okay.
This is what I look for.
You're using your dad, that's the cop.
Not only my dad, is all his buddies that are in the DEA.
Unknowingly, you're grilling them and interrogating them on how to smuggle and transport weed and money, and they're just giving you all the answers. But meanwhile, you're legitimately transporting and smuggling drugs and money. And you have these guys giving you the playbook.
I'd go to fishing camp with 12 cops with my dad, and just drinks start going, and like I'd ask them questions, and trust me, I understood I was doing more than what that local PD guy was even remotely, like, he doesn't even, like, no clue, right?
They're probably losing their shit over a couple
But I want to
joints.
see how the cop community sees people that sell drugs. What do they, they're looking for what you would call a scumbag with a broken taillight and a shitty car that's unregistered. And I'm like, okay, that's got to follow its way up the chain a little bit. So I'm just like, and I started talking to my dad's friends that are in the DEA and all that. And I'm like, what are they looking for? What are they looking for? They're looking for the obvious dude that is on like selling coke, selling heroin. They're not looking for two 25-year-old dudes with golf shirts on. Like, that doesn't even tick. Driving grandma's Impala. They're not even looking at that. They're not even, I'm sure there are dudes in special units that are. But how do you get past the 80%, right?
Cops, yeah.
Because once the other dudes are onto you,
you're done. They already got you.
Screwed. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing that you have to accept living that lifestyle is, if I got pulled over by an undercover and I had nothing in my car, like, I knew that I would be going to jail. Because I knew that they would already know. Because I can't deny it.
They're not just rolling you over by coincidence.
Not at all. And what a lot of people don't understand is these guys that were doing it at that level, because it was a huge boom, obviously. I just told you the dollars and cents that could have been made, is like everybody was on the payroll somehow. Governors, senators, like everybody, when it became, this is the biggest thing, when it became legal, all these people could now take dirty money. And everybody was taking dirty money. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're just having a boom here in Maine. You know what I mean? Like, my buddy that was selling cars, it's like, dude, I sold freaking like 70 cars in 2 weeks ever since weed's become legal. And I'm like, yeah, you got guys coming in dumping freaking 100 G's in cash because now they can actually use their money. This has always been here, right? But it's like, I got to go pay for my groceries in cash and call it good, not go buy a brand new.
You can only spend so much doing that on groceries.
Right. So
everybody in Maine just has mattress money
for 10 years. You better believe it.
Until weed's legalized. And then now it's like, oh, this is because we're part of this farm. I'm invested in this. I invested in this grow operation. Is that how they started? But meanwhile, they have to know that all the weed that is now getting grown legally is getting shipped straight out of state.
It's not now, today.
But it was. I'm talking
then
during the boom when this is all happening.
Yeah, Maine was like the first one on the East Coast that legalized. And so we were supplying New York.
And you're just building these grow operations?
So what happened?
Hold on, I got one more question before we go on to that. What was the craziest shit that you did working for this mobster?
Crazy in what way?
Fucking first thing that comes to your mind. What's the wildest shit you did for this guy?
It's like, that's the greatest part about the whole thing. Like, I didn't do much. I just
had everybody else doing it.
But yeah, I had these.
Okay, what was the craziest?
I had these 6 Somalians steal a Volkswagen. What are they called? The hippie bus.
The little bus.
You know, the Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were all
or whatever?
They were all doing what they do and making freaking bombs or whatever. You know, they had like a bunch of explosive shit in there. And they drove it right through the garage of this apartment, right? And it like exploded and took out half the basement of this apartment building that they were supposed to be going to collect. And they didn't know how to drive. They don't know how to drive. Like, they can drive back home, but like not on a road. So like, I remember I was like a couple blocks down and I saw him like jump into this van, and I'm like, I looked over at the ringleader. His name was KZ. That's what he went by. And I'm like, what? He goes, brother, I think they stole the fucking bus. And I'm like, he's like, they don't know how to drive. These kids are like 14, 15. And then you just see bam, 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 bam. And then you just hear like, it wasn't an explosion. It was like a muffled poof. And I was like, we gotta walk by. Smoke rolling out the windows. They're all covered in soot and shit. And I'm like, they're so lucky that they don't have an ID. All they have to do is run. Like, whoever has this van is the one that's going to have the questions asked. Full of pressure cooker shit, all that stuff. Like, they were bringing that stuff back here. Like, that kind of mindset to the city for a while. Like, it was kill or be killed between the tribes. But that was one of the ones that was pretty crazy. But I would say that it got scary before it got crazy. Like, when I started seeing them with guns, like AKs and stuff like that, like I was like, this feels a little third worldish.
Oh yeah.
I had one of them come in my apartment with an AK one time, just to show it off. And I was like, look, I've raised around guns. I don't give a shit. I know you don't know how to shoot this thing. I know don't even know how to rack a round into this thing. But I said, if you get caught with this, you're going to jail for the rest of your life.
Like, yeah, I've watched Black Hawk Down. I know how you motherfuckers shoot.
Yeah, well, just like I know, I've hung out with you guys enough. Like, you don't even know how to use a fork and knife. You
yeah, you know how to wipe your ass.
I know it looks cool, you know what I mean? And when you rack it, it makes a cool sound. But you don't want to be caught with this in town.
Yeah, this isn't Somalia. Like, you're in Maine.
Oh, man, dude. I don't know how they got half the shit they got, but they're a resourceful bunch.
That they are.
I feel bad for the homeless during that time because it was just like, it was a zoo, man.
Why?
Because they were out roaming the streets. Like imagine like a 12 to 14-year-old boys out roaming the streets, doing whatever they want and can't get caught. Like, they were beating the shit out of homeless people, stealing them, robbing them. Just
the Somalis were now.
There wasn't a damn goose left in the park. It used to be full of geese in the pond.
They're eating them all?
Or killing for fun. I don't know. But yeah. But to coming off the back end of that, I didn't really decide to slow down with the weed thing. It was kind of like running itself. And I kind of just told them I'm going to move back home, and I'm just going to kind of chill for a minute. And I was worried because I was like, in all the movies, you're going to get killed or some shit's going to happen. Because I was sick of looking behind my shoulder every day. You know what I mean?
I mean, was there ever a point that you thought you were going to get caught?
Oh, yeah.
How was it like living like that? I mean, you're constantly looking over your shoulder?
Any knock at the door, I was constantly paranoid, couldn't sleep. I started smoking weed because it kind of helped with it. But like, I'd get stoned and hide my money. Like, and then I'd forget where it was. It'd be all like in the shit, you know? I knew it wasn't smart for me to have a gun, but I'm always been the type of person where like, if Somalian rolls in with an AK and wants to do some harm, I should be able to shoot him.
Yeah.
Because what am I going to do? Just let him shoot my ass?
Did you ever have a close call of almost being killed by these people?
I've been threatened. I've sat in a room with a couple of them threatening me, saying that they were going to, like, with weapons and stuff.
Over
like,
what?
Money. And I just told them straight up. I said, if you're going to do something to me, you're just going to, the people that I work for will take your family lineage and just wipe them from the face of the earth. Not really knowing that might happen. Like, that was a lie. But at the time, I was like, I need to say something powerful.
Yeah.
You know, like you know your sisters and your daughters and your kids that I come over and I see them all the time. I said they'll all be gone, and they were like, and so they kind of realized. But at the time, dude, it spirals out of control so fast.
Okay, so while you were living in this world of drugs, violence, stabbing, Somalis going crazy, what's one thing that you'll never unsee?
My life changed, and this is when it stopped. When I stopped with this was when I asked my boss what it would cost to have somebody erased from this earth, money-wise, monetarily. If I wanted that guy dead, how much would it cost? And the number that he put out there blew my mind.
What was the number?
$2,500.
To kill somebody?
Mm-hmm.
That's it?
Yep.
I was expecting like 10 grand or something.
And that's when, like, my heart broke. And I'm like...
You realize how much you weren't worth?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Because you give one of these Somalians $2,500, it's like 6 months of life. You know?
Damn, okay.
And they're used to that, where they're from.
Oh, violence is just part of life.
It's part of life.
Murder is part of life.
I don't need to tell him what you did, what you didn't do. If you have a family, $2,500. And then they're going to kill each other over the $2,500.
Why were you asking that question? Why'd you want somebody erased?
Because I knew that it happened at times, because there was people that owed him 50, 70, 80K. And I knew that there was actions taken. And I just was never privy to, like, do you kick the door in? Do you, you know, because a lot of the dudes down where he was, like, where the dudes would drop the car, like the weed off, most of the times it was between a $1 and $5 million house. You pull the car in and that dude's getting freaking 300 pounds of weed. But then from there it gets dispersed down, right, to all the lower level guys that run shit into the city. But there's always like a rich dude at the top. Right?
Always,
and then so that rich dude, say in Philly, we'll call it, has a guy that grabbed 10 pounds off from him and he's owed 30 grand, and they come back next week and he's short 30 grand, and he's short 30 grand because this dude ripped him off. Well, then he's going to talk to my guy and he goes, I need somebody from away to go handle this bill. So he'll send his dudes from Maine down there because nobody knows who that crap they are, kick this dude's door in and take everything that he's had. And if he gets stabbed, it's no sweat on these dudes' asses because they're from Maine. They don't know the guy. But if another dude from Philly does it, he's right next door. You know, you get out of Dodge back to Maine, who's going to suspect you from Maine going down to Philly and stabbing someone for no reason? Wouldn't make any sense. So it's a whole entire thing, and I'm grateful for what I've learned and what I've been through and what I've seen. But at the same time, It's so ugly.
Is that when the easy money started to feel not worth it? Was it that moment?
I decided that I wanted to still grow weed and sell it, but do it quote unquote ethically. So
because you've been working for this mobster that
so what happened is I told him I want to go home and I just want to take a break. It's basically how I left it. I just want to take a break. Everything's running, everything's set up. There's a guy that can do what I do. It's all ready to go, whatever. He's like, okay, cool. So I went home and I'm like, I've seen these guys say, okay, cool, and it's not cool. And I'm just sitting at home worried still, just paranoid. He knows where I live. He knows what I drive. He knows where my parents live. Like, my parents had met him. Every time I would go home from college, my parents were just like, oh, he's going to college. He's playing baseball. Like, he's partying, but life is good. They had no idea all this other shit was going on. No idea. Nothing. Right? I was still driving a shitty old Honda Accord my grandfather gave me.
Are you making good money? Or was this more for like...
For the time? At the time being, I was making good money, but dude...
What's good money at the time?
Probably like between $3,000 and $5,000 a week. Cash. At 22, 21.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I could... Yeah, but in the scheme of things, looking back at it now, in what you were running and operating...
I didn't care. It was cool. I had all the power.
You were involved in something.
I had the power.
You had purpose.
I had all the power. One phone call. Your shit's getting run in on. That's what felt good. Is like, I'm important and I got power.
Yep.
If I want this dude to make a phone call for me and do something, it is what it is. If I wanted a Mercedes, he would have given me one. But it didn't feel right.
Okay.
Never did it. So I kept stashing money in the wall of the house just because I didn't use it. I didn't need it. And I went home. I decided I gotta figure out what I'm actually doing. I knew that this was not a thing that was gonna last a long time. So then I decided to go. I stayed at home for a little while and I'm like, I need to get further away. So I went to Bangor, which is like an hour and a half north of where I live, which is 2.5 hours from Portland. And I went to school for plumbing and heating and slowed my life down. Still drinking, but like none of the crazy shit. And I was like, I'm going to go back to Augusta and just get a job plumbing and heating. And that's what I'm going to do. And this guy would call me to check in every 3 weeks.
Your boss?
Yeah.
Okay.
See what I was doing, see how I was going. And I was like, look, I think I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to be done. This is what I want to do. He was super supportive, like talking to me like a dad. You know?
Was it real? Was he really?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. And so then I started doing plumbing and heating. And I got a job. I lied on my job application. I said, I had all this experience, never done anything. And I was like, I just need to get in front of the owner and I know I'll sell myself. So I go in and I sold myself to this guy. He's like, you'd be a great addition. He started me like $2 an hour higher than these guys that have had 10 years experience. And I went in and I told my service manager the first day, I was like, I don't know a friggin' thing, man. He goes, I hope you're a hard worker. I'm that. I said, I'm that. So I worked my ass off for a couple of years there. And then I got to the point where I was on my own in my own truck. And on the weekend, I got called in for an AC call. AC wasn't working. Old man, he's probably 75 years old. And he goes, I was like, all right, well, everything looks good outside. I need to go inside, check out the indoor stuff. He goes, do you have a problem with medical marijuana? I was like, no, I got no problems. He's like, yeah, I got glaucoma. Everyone in Maine has glaucoma at this time.
Yep.
And I saw these massive weed plants in there. And I'm like, whoa. I was like, this is crazy. He's like, yeah, my son has a bunch of these units down in southern Maine, and he's trying to get someone to work on them, but no one will go down there. I said, well, my company doesn't go an hour and a half away, but on the weekend, I'll go make some extra money. I'll help him out. So I got this dude's number, and I went down, fixed a bunch of his stuff. And now I'm going from making the old school money where I was making good money in college, running weed and stuff, to just $22 an hour. And I go down on the weekend and he hands me $1,500 for like 6 hours worth of work. And I'm like, yeah, this is sick. But massive grow house. There was 3 in the state at the time. That was one of them.
Okay.
And he goes, you're pretty good at this stuff. And I was like, yeah. And they were doing some stuff with the plants, like, and I'm like, why wouldn't you just put in trays and like automatic watering and all this stuff? And he's like, you can do that? I was like, yeah, I could do that. So I started doing this shit. And he's like, how much would it cost you to come work for me? I was like, I don't know, man. I just started whatever. And he's like, I'll give you $30 an hour and you work as much as you want, $30 an hour cash. So I said, okay. I put my 2 weeks in at the other place and I went down and worked for this grower. And he's got like 70 pounds of weed sitting there. Can't sell it. I was like, I know a guy if you want to get rid of this.
Your old boss?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, how much do you need for it? And he told me, I said, I just want to let you know I'm going to make $500 off of each pound. He's like, no problem. Sold it. I made 15 grand.
So now you're back in the game.
Legally. Because my old boss has a license. This guy has a license. It's legal until it leaves the state.
Okay.
So I'm like, I just made $15K. And I was like, I got a 3-bay garage at my house. Took that money, put grow lights in, put ACs in, brought plants in, and then harvested my first crop, 50 grand. This is cool. Well, if I'm going to have 10 lights, I might as well have 100.
Yep.
And going back, though, that 3-bay garage was my dad's. He was a cop.
Does he know does your cop dad know that you're growing weed?
He knows that I'm working for a grower, and he knows that it's legal because it's the talk of the state. And so I was like, I come home, I'm like, hey, Dad, I got an idea. How about we put weed plants in this garage? He goes, if you go and get your license, I'm totally with it, but it's got to be legal.
Oh, okay.
And
I wasn't expecting that.
And I said, okay. So I got my license, and it was legal, but the gray area was absurd. It was absurd.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, hey, Dad, I want to go. I think I'm gonna go buy a warehouse. And he goes, all right, make this make sense to me. How is this legal? So I explained it to the best of my knowledge. And he goes, it doesn't seem right. Something's not right. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the government's running it now. Of course it's not going to make sense.
And he's like, if this is legit, why am I doing police work? I was like, I don't know.
It's a great question, Dad.
So like he got done policing and started transitioning into real estate, and then like started helping with this grow stuff. And then he was like, I don't know if this is, I don't know, this can't be. You know what I mean? Because he was interested in the real estate side. How can I buy a building that pays for itself, blah, 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 whatever. So kind of became a family business where like he would help trim weed and like all this crazy shit, and all his police buddies would like bust his balls, but they were jealous because they were making like 50 grand a year, and they all kind of wanted to do it too. You know what I mean? Like,
For sure.
So that turned into, you know, a 300 light grow and like a cannabis store, which I owned. Meanwhile, like I had met Lindsay just before the legal growing thing started.
This is your wife?
Yeah, my wife Lindsay.
Okay.
I met her when I was still at Augusta Fuel, like at the plumbing company.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just like, we had a big party at my land. My land used to be where all the parties had with bonfires there, and a kid that I was kind of friends with brought her, and she was quiet and wasn't obnoxious, and I was just like kind of looking at her, and I knew her a little bit because she was in my brother's grade.
Okay.
And they went to school together. And I told him that night, I said, I know that she came here with you, but like, I'm going to ask her out. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I don't really care what your opinion is on this. I'm gonna. So the next day I hit her up and I was like, can I pick you up from work and we can hang out? And she's like, she thought it was a joke. She thought it was a complete joke. She like showed her mom the phone. She said, look who messaged me. Like, I was kind of well known in the town, but we ended up.
Got a reputation at this point?
Yeah, bad,
okay.
Bad. And so we started hanging out, and I told her, I said, this is probably been together 6 months. I said, hey, this dude wants me to like grow weed with him. What do you think? And she's like, is it legal? I'm like, yeah. She's like, do you want to do it? I'm like, yeah. She's like, do it. It's like, okay. And then I'm like showing her this money I'm making, and she's like, holy shit. And she didn't think anything of it. She just thought like, hey, this is what happens to successful people. They just one day are making $15,000 a week.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I told her parents it was legit, and they believed me. And I started growing this thing out, and we ended up hiring like, I don't know, at one point we had like 10 employees, and Um, I we before we really blew up, we were still in the little garage before we were married. She was raised in the church, and so like one thing she wasn't doing was like premarital sex. She's just like, she told me up front, like, it ain't happening. Well, I guess I was like convincing. So like 8 months in, we ended up making a child, right?
Okay.
And so her dad's like, you're getting married.
Was it right away when was it immediate when
The first time?
Yeah.
Yo, yeah.
Oh, the first time you guys had sex, you got pregnant?
Yes. She'd never been on birth control. Like, why would she need to? Right? And so
did you ask that last night? You did ask that last night, yeah. Those came back, I was telling a little bit of your story. She's like, was it the first time?
First time.
I was like, no, I doubt it.
First time.
First time you guys ended up having sex, you got pregnant.
Yeah. And
Surprise.
so first time, the 2 days after the first time, my house burned down. Like, burned flat.
How?
Stovepipe caught on fire, burned the house flat.
Lost everything?
Lost everything.
What's that like?
I was young and stupid and making a lot of money. It sucked, but I didn't really care.
Did you lose a bunch of cash in the house?
There was like $5,000 in there, but it didn't burn. It just got like soaked from like the firefighter spray.
Oh, you didn't have like cash in the walls and
well,
all that stuff?
the fire marshal came in and she's like, do you have cash? I know who you are. Do you have cash in there? I was like, yeah, there's a pair of jeans on the end of, like where the end of my bed was. She comes in and like, are these the jeans? And she like pulled the money out. And I'm like, yeah, it's still good. Right on. So that's really it.
Okay.
So I moved back in my parents' house for like 2 days. And then I got another place, shithole on the lake, trailer. It was crap. And then, I remember we were in that trailer when she's like, something's not right. I'm going to go get a piss test or whatever. I'm like, you're not freaking pregnant. She gets one. She's like, positive. I go back to Rite Aid. I buy 3 more. Positive. And I was like, she's like, my dad's literally going to kill me. He's going to come here and kill me. And I said, I think I should tell your dad, because that's what I would probably want, is like the man to tell the dad, like, hey, look, this is what the plan of action. She's like, no, you can't. So her and her mother told him. I wasn't allowed over for 2 months. And he's like, I walk in the living room. He's like, you know, you're getting married. And I said, yeah, we'll get married. I fought it, but we ended up getting married. And then,
well, how's your relationship? I mean, are you guys you're only 8 months in, so God, you don't even have a relationship.
Don't even have a relationship. No, all I know.
Did you see yourself? Are you one of these? I knew immediately we were gonna be married, spend the rest of our life, or was this you just had a thing for her and? Now
to be honest, if I'm being frank, I wanted to hook up with the hot Christian chick that nobody could.
What did I tell you?
She wore really nice pants, white pants, and I loved them.
And acted different.
And everybody told me that there's no way possible. I couldn't. Everyone's tried.
Carried herself a little bit different.
100%.
Something about her that you just couldn't put your hand on, huh?
Well, she just wasn't acting trashy, And I was like, I like that. I don't want a girl that's, I hate to say this, been around with every dude in town. It's just like a pride thing.
And in those small communities too, it's hard to find.
Oh, dude, we'll go out to eat with a buddy, like a buddy or like whatever, and he'll be like, oh yeah, and it's like, golly.
I'm from a very small, technically a village, and I've watched my whole entire life just the circle. They all just date and they never get out of that. So to find some with some fresh meat, change things up, is probably pretty nice. Yeah,
and oh my God, like you said, we don't know each other. Now we're living together. We're going to have a baby and we're fighting all the time. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like the hot Christian girl is like, got shit, like it's just arguing back and forth all the time. And so we're getting there, but I'm excited to be a dad because like I've always been really good with kids. I've always loved kids, especially that 2 to 6 age, like it's so fun.
That's the opposite for me.
I love that. It's just the joy for the world is still there. Like everything, you'd be like, oh look, it's a really big tree, and they're like, whoa, a big tree, And so I was like, I'm gonna have a son. This is awesome, and we picked out a name, Waylon, and It's funny. I got a little bit of a story, but Lindsay was like 2 months before the due date, and my mother, she's like, we should go out to breakfast and talk. And I'm like, and I knew she had some stuff from the past she hasn't dealt with, and I thought it was a good idea, kind of like we talked about last night, is like, maybe me and my mom should do mushrooms together.
Oh.
But I knew she wouldn't do them, so I snuck them into a cookie. And so I was like, hey, try these. I made these. They're awesome. So she ate one, right? And I ate one, and we went out to eat, and we're sitting there, and we're laughing. We're having a great time. And the waitress is like, I'm not trying to be rude, but are you guys going to order anything? And I'm like, yeah, hold on. And she's like, it's been 4 hours. We were just sitting there talking for 4 hours. I had no idea, right? And then, and I'm not shitting. This is totally happening. Lindsay called me, my wife at the time, and she goes, I'm going to the hospital. I think the baby's coming. And I'm like,
you're high on shrooms?
I am, dude, whacked. Like wavy shit, like not feeling good. I don't know if you ever done them, but
I haven't yet.
It comes in waves. Like you
Okay.
feel like you're gonna throw up, and then it's just like, holy shit, you're on a roller coaster, and then it's like, I think it's gone, and then it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna puke, and then you're like, holy shit, am I gonna live through this? So Lindsay calls me, and I'm like, Mom, we gotta go. And she's like, okay.
And your mom's cool this whole entire time? She's obviously got to realize at some point she's tripping on mushrooms.
Oh yeah, she's like, what was in that cookie? And I was like, I told her, and she's just like, what? She goes, I wish you would have said something. And I was like, well, you wouldn't have done it.
Uh-huh.
She's like, yeah, you're right.
God, I need to do that to my mom.
The second we walked out of the restaurant, it started torrential downpouring to the point where, like, in the streets, the grates, they were like swirling. The water was like up to here. Wind started blowing in, and my mom's like, is the world ending? I was like, I don't know. We just got to go to the hospital. And I said, who's driving? And my mom's like, oh, I'm driving. I'm like, okay. So we get in the car, we pull out, branches are falling down, trees are going all over the place. And I'm like, oh my God. So we pull in the hospital. It was probably like a 10-minute ride. It looks like the world is literally ending. And we pull up, and she's like, all right, bye. And I'm like, you're not coming in? And she goes, I'm not going to the friggin' hospital. I'm going home. So she went home, and I go in, and I'm a stupid dude. And there's this one desk we always go in where we get the baby checked. I go to the desk, and I go, my wife is here. I think we're having a baby. And then this lady scares the complete shit out of me. She comes from the side, and she goes, oh my God, congratulations. I remember grabbing her by the shoulders, and I go, it's 2 months early. It's not a good thing. And I just like pushed her out of my way. And she's like, oh, your wife's in labor and delivery. And I'm like, oh shit. And I know, like, this is me.
Oh, you're 2 months. Your son's too much preemie.
That's what that's what I'm thinking is going on.
Okay.
So I walk up through doors I shouldn't have been going through. And I'm like, my wife's here, blah, blah, blah. I walk right through. And they're like, she's in room this. And I'm like, okay. So I open room this, and I open the door, and all I hear is a baby screaming. And I'm like, how the frig did the baby come? I don't know how this works. So how's the baby here in 20 minutes? And I open the thing, dude. It was some other lady.
No.
Just had her baby. And I'm like, and I just screamed shit, and I walk out, and
no.
The nurse comes and she goes, your wife's over here. And I go in, and Lindsay was sitting there, and there was no baby, and she was pregnant, and she was calm. And I go, what is going on? And the doctor goes, oh, she just got food poisoning. And I go, oh, let me tell you about my morning, wife. This is what you married. I said, she goes, what's wrong with your eyes? I said, I am frickin' zapped. I'm on Mars right now. I don't want to be in this room. I am tripping my balls off.
You're in the hospital.
And she's like, okay, let's just relax. And dude, being confined is not a place you want to be on that shit. But so that was a great story. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's a part of these feelings I started getting was like, I don't want to be a scumbag when my son comes into this world. That felt like shit to me.
Yeah.
Like if I was to experience everything I've ever waited for, and I was like nuked out on mushrooms, like not cool to me.
Yeah.
But so
that was kind of a little reality check for you.
Yeah, it was funny and we laughed about it, but I'm like, okay, you got 2 months allegedly, maybe less. Let's start getting it together. So we're getting ready to go in, and it's the date of the pregnancy. And so we go in, and they're like, yeah, basically wait around until the baby comes. I'm like, all right, that's cool, whatever. It's been 24 hours. They're like, we're going to induce her to get this rolling. I'm like, all right. So they start inducing her, and it's been like, at this point, fast forward like 4 days, and she's exhausted because she is laboring and stuff, but like nothing's going anywhere.
Yeah.
You don't sleep in the hospital. I don't care what anyone says. It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And they've induced her. They put her in the bath. They did all this crazy stuff to get the baby to come. Baby didn't want to come. Everyone's laughing it off like, oh, he's just stubborn, whatever. And I'm like, yeah. And then it got like started getting serious. And a part of it was I think I was really overtired, but I remember it was dark. And I was watching the machine. And like I was telling you last night, I don't know anything about medical anything, but I just know on the TV when it starts beeping slow, that means bad shit happens. And so every time she would labor, her heart rate would go down and the baby's would go down, and it would go really low. And every time it would go, the nurses would come in every single time. And I'm like, I'm not an idiot. What's going on? Like, no, they don't want to get anybody like wound up. I'm like, well, I am. I'm freaking like, this doesn't look good. I don't know what this means. Make it make sense. So I was freaking crying. Lindsay ended up going to sleep. I was sitting there crying, and I just remember looking up to God and then like, God, I feel like you haven't been in my life my whole entire life. And I don't know if you have been, but I was like, if you're real, if you save my wife and my child, I'll do whatever you ask me to. And maybe it was my perception, but it felt like within 5 seconds, the door flew open to the point where I was sitting there praying, and I jumped, and my cousin happened to be working. And she looked at me and she goes, I don't know what's going on, but you guys need to go to the OR. And I said, okay. She's like, we need to get this baby out. I was like, okay. So we go down to the OR, and they take Waylon out, and his umbilical cord was 6 inches long. And I asked the stupid question. I said, what would have happened if she would have kept laboring? And the doctor said, without a doubt, that umbilical cord would have snapped. You would have lost the baby, and could have definitely lost your wife. So in that point right there, I was like, that's a miracle. God answered me without a doubt. Now, what the hell do I do? What do I do?
Yeah, what's the next step?
The only people I've ever met that are Christians are fake, other than 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay. We got home. We got settled. I spent my time with Waylon. I spent my time with Lindsay. And I told her mom, I said, I need to figure this out, and I need you to be patient, but I have 3 people I need to go talk to. And I went and I interviewed these fathers, and they all were Christians, but when you go in their home, their kids actually loved each other.
Mm.
And I was like, I want to have this home. So I said, what do I do? Just lay it on me. And one of them was so great, and he was just like, we're going to do this together. And I was like, well, you got your own kids. You got a massive company, whatever. He's like, no. He's like, every Tuesday night, we're coming over. We're going to pray. I'm going to teach you guys. Let you guys ask questions. We're going to work through things together. And it was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life, being able to be with these people and how truly patient they were. Because he should have, in all rights, been like, dude, you got to like get rid of the weed business. You're going to become a Christian guy and like freaking you're slanging dope, like,
Mm-hmm.
but I came to that on my own. To one night I was just laying in bed, and we had this beautiful business that was, dude, I bought my wife an Escalade. Like I was the man. I was being a provider. I was playing golf at the best golf courses. It was, what more could you,
Had it all.
dude, I met Luke, I met Aaron, like guys that I look up to, like in the hunting world, to like Aaron. I had dreams of meeting him for 10 years of hunting. Ever since I heard him on some podcasts and stuff, like I was like, I want to meet that guy. And I got to meet them. I got to meet Chad Mendes. I got to meet Justin Gaethje. I got to hunt with Chad Mendes. And I was like, I was laying up in bed and I was like, I got to give it away. It's on my heart. I woke Lindsay up. I said, Lindsay, we need to give up this business. And she goes, well, what do you mean? I said, it needs to go tomorrow. Done. I'm out. So I gave the real estate away. I gave the business away. Didn't make $1. Like, didn't keep $1 from the business. Nothing that I had earned from that business did I keep. And I started my HVAC company that next day. And she goes, how are we going to pay for anything? I said, I'm going to pray. And by the second day, I had a month of work booked, and that was good enough for me.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I didn't make shit, but I had work. We had hope. And that's why I named it 777 HVAC, to hold me accountable, to know, because when you make money, it's a really good problem solver. It takes little problems and you're just like, money, and it goes away. Right? Right. But there's a host of other things, and it gets really frustrating at times when I could just like, oh man, I need to pay a $10,000 bill. This used to be a 2-day project for me. And now it's like, we need to plan months in advance to do these things that used to be so easy. But in the work comes the wisdom, right? So that's what we've been going through, is we kind of lived what most people get at their 50s and our early 20s, that success of everything finally coming together. We got it early, gave it away, and now we're rebuilding, but it's transformed our whole entire life and community, to be honest, not trying to sound egotistical.
How did walking away from the drug game, the life, the money, giving it all to God and turning your life around, like, how did that change? What changed?
Almost everybody in my life walked away, other than family, because I didn't have something for them anymore. I lost what I thought were best friends, and I tried going about this thing as ethically as possible, being like, hey man, I want to have a real conversation. This isn't for me anymore. I need to be done. Well, why? And then it's like all these things of why I should keep doing it. I'm good at it and all this stuff. And I'm like, I just need to give it up. As my friend, I just want you to listen to me and hear me out. And when I'm saying, I just need to be done. I just need to be done. That's all I'm saying. And it's just like, well, and all this stuff, that comes along with it.
But they're never going to understand, because they have no idea what you just went through in that hospital, in that come to Jesus moment.
And everybody wants to tell you how it's coincidence. When it's like, if you know me and you're my friend, you should be able to tell me all day how it's a coincidence, but you should believe me that it was a miracle. Because I felt it. It was there. It was real. And I love that. We rebuilt together. Like, it was for a long time. It's just been me and her. Like,
what did that do to your guys' relationship? Having to rebuild together.
She got really bad postpartum with William and Savannah, and the Bible girl became she had to lean on me and my little new faith, which created me into a warrior, because I'm not going to let her do it on her own, and I needed to remind her what she knows about her God, but it coming through me saved her, because I was Saul Paul, right? And she's like, where's this? This isn't coming from him, because he doesn't know this. It's coming from the Holy Spirit, me speaking into her about who she is. And dude, there was a time where she couldn't even go into Target. She was terrified. The postpartum was so bad. Mm-hmm. And I was the one reminding her to pray, instead of her begging me to talk to God and to pray. So we went from this to this, And now it's kind of coming back into the middle. Now we're both like aligned together.
Yoked.
And we also understand when the enemy comes, like, good luck. Because I had to lean on her. She had to lean on me.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going nowhere. Right? Like, I pulled her out when she was down. She pulled me up when I was down. We know we know now that I'm not saying it couldn't be any worse, but it could have been worse, but it was really bad for a long time to where I had to put my family, my parents, my sister, her parents, we had to keep them like this because we had to work on this.
For sure.
Any outside opinion.
I think a lot of people, is a really good point that you bring up, is when people depend, rely, reach out for other people's opinions on your marriage. And I think that is one of the biggest mistakes that people do in a marriage, is to try to confide in others, try to seek their opinion. And that's, I think, one of the biggest causes of divorce and separation and down, because nobody. Now, I take, if somebody's abusive and along those lines, yes, but I'm talking as a couple that you're going through your trenches, you're in your shit. That's when a couple needs to come together. They don't need to be reaching and getting advice from others, because nobody knows what's going on in your house. You don't know what's going on in their house. And nobody's marriage is perfect, but to make things work, it comes down to the husband and wife leaning on each other, having those awkward conversations, and laying it all out on the table. That's the only way to get through those moments.
And there needs to be truth, right? Like
100%.
My wife doesn't like to be the one that says no. Like, my daughter wants to spend the night at a friend's house, and she's like, your dad's going to say no, because she knows it ain't worth it. I don't want to kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone they want can come spend the night at my house.
For sure. Same.
Totally cool with it.
They don't even got to ask.
Right.
Oh, you having a sleep overnight? Cool.
We have a weird rule. You guys probably haven't had to run into this, but if my daughter has a friend over, my boys go to my parents.
Oh, yeah.
To spend the night?
That, yeah.
They're at the age.
That's a respectful thing.
I mean, it's just, I ask the same of everything, but it's just one of those things where, as a child looking back, I know I've had friends, I've seen kids of being exposed to things at a young age, and even if both parties are willing, destruction is happening.
For sure.
It's so true. And I look back, and like, one of my biggest regrets is not being able to give that gift to my wife, to where if I see an old girlfriend that's like at a restaurant or something, she now has to compare herself to her in this weird way of like, was she better than me? Is she better? You know, like all these things where I wish I could give my wife that confidence where, no, you are truly the only one. That's it. Rather than have to play this comparison game, whatever it might be.
You're like you having two sons, man. They're watching everything that you do, opening doors for your daughters, opening doors for your wife.
Yeah,
those little things, like, that's something that you shouldn't have to teach sons. They should be watching you as a father and the role model, being able to do things like that, and how the respect, cuddling, the affection, being vulnerable to them and your wife. Those are the traits that sons and daughters need to be watching, especially at our age, our kids' ages, of being able to take that into their relationships of a more mature angle, instead of just, this is what they watch on TikTok, this is what they're being fed on social media, and now this is who they think they should be as this young woman or young man.
And so many parents have such an issue with letting their children be disappointed in them. And what I mean by that is, like, my boys have never been to Shields. And I'm like, you're about to go, like, if you picture Cabela's and Walmart having a baby that was like 10 times better than the parents, that's what we're about to go see. So we went in there, and of course they wanted some stuff. Well, my younger son, William, wanted all new Sitka gear. And I'm like, dude, I'm not about to drop a G here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not doing it. And he was upset. And I'm like, do you know what it takes? Do you know how much that is? It's $1,000. Because he doesn't only want the pants. He wants the undershirts. He wants the gloves. He wants the boots. He wants some new Crispies. I'm like, Will, you need to work for that. Like, that's not like, and I'm okay with him moping around the store for a couple of minutes, but it's like, you get to experience something that you're in a new state. You know, we went Top Golf. We've done some fun stuff here. I was like, don't forget that. Don't let that ruin your trip. But so many parents, I see it all the time. They don't want their kids, they're afraid to have that, quote unquote, let their kids down. And that's what they think it is. Cause, I've been coaching baseball now for them for 4 years, and it's 11-year-old baseball, but it's pretty competitive. It's travel and stuff like that. And 6 of my boys don't have dads. And I see the way that they talk to their mothers, and I see that the way they don't know how to handle me raising my voice. And it's hours of work to sit there and just being like, I love you and I care about you. Just because I talk to you like this doesn't mean I don't love you. But this is how we get to point A to point B as fast as it can. And now you need to learn how to process with, you need to do this. You know, like, you're not going to hear it at home. And it's been something that I'm truly grateful for, but it's a huge on-taking. And I'm grateful that I'm very transparent with my sons about, I'm not the best baseball coach. I wasn't the best baseball player. I know enough to gain their respect and their trust. And I told the coaches this in the meeting a couple of months ago, is my goal is for when these young men are 16, they got someone to call. Because when I was going through my tough time in high school, my Legion baseball coach, I made a team I had no business making. It was just an elite team. They went 32-0 and won the state championship. And I was the closing pitcher on that team. And that coach called me every day because he knew after practice what I was going to do. It was nothing good, because he could see what I was holding in, and he saw the intensity of I played and practiced, and he knew what that was from. That wasn't just from I had a nice little life at home. He knew what I'd been through with my brother, and he knew what was going on with my parents, and he knew I was putting it all into this. He called me every day, and he told me he's thinking about me, and he loved me every day. And it was just until a couple of months ago when I was thinking after some baseball games, I was like, I need to call coach and thank him for that, because that's who I want to be now, is when those kids are 16 and 17 and they're with some shitheads and they shouldn't be, I'm throwing them in the truck and saying, hey, no. Or, hey, I'm in a bad spot. I have no one to call. Can you come get me? Yes. Answer's always yes.
There's no greater reward than having somebody, a young man, a teenager that you've mentored, or at least given the feeling of having something or someone secure in their life that they're able to reach out.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest silent flexes, not to anybody, but as a self, like, okay, like my dad's shit was later on. He worked really hard. He provided everything he could, but we never had that father-son relationship where I was able to go to him for things.
Yeah.
And then when I started getting into the trouble years and military stuff, he was never there. He always just abandoned. It was just, you're not welcome until you find God. You need to find Christ. You need to get closer to God. That was his answer for everything. I've never had the father figure that I was able to be like, Dad, I'm really struggling right now. Even though you call me anytime I'd call, it was just, it always turned into, you need to find God. That was his answer. For everything. It wasn't, I never got the, you know what, son? I went through this at your age. Excuse me. I struggled with these same things. And then to find out years later that my dad, all the shit that I was going through in all my early 20s, just as a young shithead adult, he lived all this life.
Right.
But never tried to relate to me on anything. So that's why I feel
because he didn't want to dig that up out of the closet. Probably.
For whatever reason.
Right.
Instead of relating with your son.
Well, you don't.
So I can sit there and be like,
never dealt with, right?
Shit. Well, my dad grew up without a dad. His dad was a drunk piece of shit.
Yeah.
And so, so he doesn't know. And that's why it's so important for us. And I'm so big on breaking chains and these generational bullshit curses that we deal with, because it's like, and that's why these young men, like I'm kind of mentoring this young kid right now. He's joining the Marine Corps, and it's like he was just over here the other day and going through all of his ASVAB scores and lining out. Okay, dude, like no, this cool. Yeah, you don't want to be a grunt in the Marine Corps. Like it's a great, cool. You're a trigger puller. Like, dude, you qualified for X, Y, and Z. Like the military is going to pay to train you, and you can get out in 4 or 5 years and take that right to the civilian world. You're making fat 6 figures. Like,
Right.
no, I never had any of that. So it's,
Right.
but it feels so good to be like, hey, I'm ready to make that jump. And, you know, as a dad or a mentor, that's where it's so important for us as men to just be that role model, that light, the shoulder, the phone call, the text message away from a lot of these young kids, because the world that we live in now, it's just, they're being attacked from every angle. Just, I believe spiritually, it's a demonic attack that
on the children,
and everything
in the home.
in the home.
It starts with the children.
Absolutely. Dude, I watched a mom the other day. Did she had like 5 kids and walked? I was waiting for my wife because I always drive her everywhere. My wife I don't even think she knows how to drive anymore, because everywhere she goes, I just drive her. I'll take you.
Yeah.
So we sit and wait and, you know, whatever. And I watched this mom come out. It was 4 or 5 kids from like a baby to probably a 10 or 11-year-old. Dude, I watched her walk out of the building, and this was her the whole entire time. And this kid's just in trail, and she never even once looked up, just scrolled the whole entire time. I watch her. She walks right next to me, loads all the kids up in, gets in her car, puts in drive, pulls her phone up and drive as she's leaving the parking lot. And I thought to myself, I go, what is that mom at home? Who is she at home that you can even walk through a parking lot where cars are driving everywhere to even think like, hey, I should watch and make sure my kids are here? She's so buried in her phone. And
what's she telling her kids? What's the most important thing in her life right now? It's on that. That's it. You guys don't matter.
That's all they watch.
And she probably tells them she loves them, and she probably thinks she means it.
1 second. Yeah, love.
Sorry, I would never do this. The boys wanted to ask if they wear a helmet, if they could ride the pit bike. You don't know.
Oh, I thought you said if they could wear a helmet. Yeah. I'm saying yeah, but 100%.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep, have at it.
If they have helmets on. Right?
Sure, yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry, guys. Thank you.
No, you're good.
That's why I stopped, because she's never come up before. There you go. So, but that's it. You know, that's wild chaos. You got your boys here, and they're out running around.
What are you going to do? At least they ask, because they could have lied.
For sure. That's another huge life lesson with kids is giving them the opportunity to tell the truth, and how important it is of just being honest and straight up and rewarding your kids. I was huge on that. None of us were liars as kid growing up, and I had buddies that would just lie about shit.
Oh, I used to all the time.
Were you a liar growing up?
All the time.
See, I grew up as long as you came to it, bring it up before you find out. And so that's how I've always raised my kids. And I've watched times where I've seen my kids do something I told them not to, and I'd ask, "Hey, did you do that?" And they've always, "I did." Okay, hey, you know what? Thank you for being honest with me. Just don't do it again. But there's obviously if you catch them in the same thing. But that is one of those things, having trustworthy kids and building that relationship with them very early. Like, who drew on the wall? No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was one of like,
yeah, dude.
You know, instead
it wasn't me.
It was one of you.
Right.
But instead it was like, Dad, I drew on the wall. It was on accident. Even though you drew a heart and wrote your name. That wasn't an accident. It's like, okay, well, you told me. We're going to get this cleaned up. We're not doing this again.
That's right.
But yeah, it's there's so many life lessons as fathers that are so important to young men and young girls at these ages. It's almost terrifying of how many dads are disconnected and just go through life because they put their work first, they put their friends first, they put the bottle, they put the badge, they put the uniform, whatever it is, before their children. And before you know it, dude, I don't know, man, my kid's trouble. I don't know what his deal is. I can't connect with my teenage daughter. My son won't listen to me. Like, I have so many of these guys. I don't know what went wrong. You went wrong.
You know how many of my parents asked me to talk to their kid for them? Can you talk to him? Something's not right.
You talk to your kid.
So last year I coached with one of my best friends, and he's a state police. And we had a phenomenal team. We ran through the league. We won the championship. Life is good. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. I can't wait to do it again next year. My boys had a blast. And then the guy who runs our league, he's like, hey, I need your help. I'm like, hey, dude, you know I'm here. What do you need? He goes, I need you to move up and coach the next level up. They had a really rough season. because I enjoyed not being the head coach. I could show up,
Oh,
I could
yeah.
preach to the kids, I could talk to the kids, I could be fun coach.
And
You
then
know, I
get-
didn't have to deal with playing time or we're going to Massachusetts and we need to book hotel rooms. None of that stuff. I didn't have to do any of that. I just got to come in and do my thing.
Fun parts.
And now they want me to be the head coach because we had such a successful season, and I get it. You know, you got to spread the wealth. So and dude, I was so mad. I was like, I told my wife, I was like, I don't even know if we're gonna do it this year. I don't want to do this. Like, we were good, and a couple of days later, I see a Facebook post about one of the kids on that team. Mother's in ICU and needs a heart transplant, and I freaking lost it. I started crying, and I'm like, I don't want to sound egotistical. I was talking to my wife, Lindsay. I said, I don't want to sound egotistical, but there's only one coach in this organization that could deal with this shit. This is why I'm coaching this team this year. And she goes, yeah. She goes, I knew you were going to do it. And I was like, all right. So I started following the family, and Courtney, she's still in ICU right now. It's been over 200 days. She got a heart transplant. She came out of it. You know, she had a successful heart transplant, but it's been back and forth. And I had her son on my team, and it was one of those teams where there was all the players were the best at their position. They're phenomenal baseball players, but the egos were out of control. And I'm an ego crusher. So the first half of the season was all you studs, you're sitting on the bench until you learn how to become teammates. And they watched their team fall and lose because they couldn't be a team because it was all about them, their strikeout, their at bat. And we dedicated the season to Colton. His name's Colton, his mother, Courtney. And they banded together and became a true family this season. And it was one of the best things I've ever seen. You know, like I got to preach to him. I got to tell him about, you know, like our story this year was David and Goliath. Like, you know, I have this troubled kid. He's doesn't come from a lot of money, and he comes up to me after the game. He goes, Coach, is that David and Goliath shit real? I go, yeah, dude, it is. So I handed him a Bible. I was like, read about it. It's real. And he was one of those troubled kids that nobody wanted. Mm-hmm. And I'll take him every time.
Absolutely.
I'll take him every time.
The greatest ones.
Yep. And
it's like the pound puppy, the pound dog nobody wants, and then they're like, oh, this is the greatest dog I've ever had in my life.
Well, the guy who runs our organization, we had a tournament that we hosted, and the kid that I'm telling you about, the troubled kid, I turned him into being our catcher, because like if you're a junkyard dog, that's what you do. You get behind the plate and you block the balls and you do all that grind and work, and I knew he had it in him. And he comes up to me and goes, what the hell did you do to that kid? I was like, I believe in him. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a dad. The kid doesn't have a dad. His mom works so much, he has nobody in his house. I just bring him to mine. What do you mean? He goes, you bring the players, you let the players come to your house? I said, every one of them. Whatever they want. They become my kids. You know what I mean? If they want to come hang out and hang out with my boys, like, this is like I said before, this is more than baseball. Baseball is just the catalyst that I'm blessed that I can speak the language of, just like you and the Marines. Like, that's all that is. It's like, that's just the catalyst to take this person and be able to speak into them, right? And it was interesting. I was talking to a couple coaches, and they're yelling at their kids to do some fundamental things right. And I go, my kids listen, what's the problem? And they're like, oh, this and that. And I go, show them how to do it. Can you do it? Show them that you can field a ground ball and throw it over to first base with intensity. You know, they're 350 pounds. They can't do it.
Yeah. How are you?
But every once in a while, I'll let one rip from center field to home plate, and they're like, holy crap, coach, how do we do that? I was like, you listen to me right now, and we do these fundamentals right. And they're like, all right, I want to throw like that. But you know what I mean? It's just like everything. You gotta be able to do it a little bit to be able to teach it. Mm-hmm. They need to know why this guy is teaching them. They're not stupid. They're figuring it out, and they're pushing the boundaries.
Real quick.
All the time.
Always. That's especially at that age.
Yeah.
That's all they're built to do.
Did you tell her I made the boys listen to your podcast together?
Oh yeah, I did last night.
You did? Good.
Yeah, that was the first thing I did when I walked in the house.
Yeah. I told him, I said, you need to listen to this, and this is what you need to look for, is a girl someday that has a relationship with a dad like this.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's true. It's true, because my boys are homeschooled. They're a little naive, and especially my younger one, the right girl would destroy him. You can already tell. He's just that kind of, he has that kind of soul. You know what I mean? And so I was like, you need to strive for that. Like, become friends with her dad first, right? If she's got a good dad, become friends with him. He'll tell you what you can do, and then there you go. But I think that's really important.
It's very important.
Because that's what I expect. I expect whoever dates my daughter to be able to sit their ass on my couch and we can watch a baseball game together and talk. And, you know, like, that relationship needs to be formed before, you know, you need to watch what I do.
100%. That was a rule until she turned 18. If she was going to date, and I got a lot of shit over this on a clip. Everybody turned it into some weird, oh, you're going to date these kids, but obviously they don't have daughters and sons. But that was a rule in our home. I told my wife and her, I go, if you're going to date while you live under my roof, your boyfriend is going to date me as well. That means I'm going to get to know him. Yeah. He's going to know our family. Because we're a tight family. I don't have a teenager that's coming and going, and I don't see. If she's up working, I walk in the house, where are the girls? My first question when I come in the house, where are the girls? Oh, Chris is working. Okay, he's whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. I love having my kids. We do everything together. So it doesn't make sense to me that I'm going to allow some young kid to come into our circle that's going to just sit there and not have a relationship with us, is not going to say a word to me,
right.
That thinks he's going to go and just slip into my daughter's bedroom and they're going to sit in there. That's not how things are going to work in this home.
No.
And so it's like, okay, cool. You want to have a relationship with my daughter that is one of the greatest human beings that I've ever come across on this planet. You're going to have a relationship with me because that's the relationship we have. And I'm not going to back down either way. She's 18 years old, and how old is your boyfriend? 19? 19-year-old boyfriend comes and asks me if it's okay if he could ask my daughter out. 19.
Good.
Because he knows who I am as a man.
That's right.
Doesn't need to.
Yeah.
But it's srespect.
Right. Yeah.
But this kid sat in your seat right there, shitting his. Relax, buddy. Take a breath. This is literally relax. Take a breath. But I respected it. He's 19 years.
Did you know it was coming?
Yeah. I knew it was coming, and it was. But that's what I want to see those checks in my little mental checkbox.
The fact that he was shitting his pants means the world,
bro.
The
world. And I'm sitting here and I laugh in his face. Like, I'm like, yo, listen, you know,
you raccoon one into the AR and be like, as long as you don't say pregnant, we're good.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's guns, there's spears, there's a sledgehammer,
right,
I mean, there's a gun in every corner. And so I get it, but this wasn't, I don't need to be the tough guy anymore, right? These aren't these little shitheads. You're sitting here calling yourself a young man.
Yeah.
He's got he's got a great work ethic. I mean, treats my everything that I'm hearing back. All green, checks. Do I want this relationship? No, because that's just me as a dad. I'm always going to be,
yeah.
But then the fact that he sat there and had the audacity and the balls and the courage to, at 19 years old, to ask my daughter, her father, if it's okay if he can ask my daughter out, he wants to do it properly. But dude, if she's 25 years old, I'll always be that dad.
It'll be interesting to ask him, what would you have done if I said no?
Mm-hmm.
That's just an interesting question. Just, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
You know, would you?
Maybe one day we'll have that conversation. Right now, it's still early, so
yeah. It's just interesting.
We're just letting it ride for the.
Right.
She's dying right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
She's dying, but that's who I set the standard in my home.
Right.
When you walk into my home, you're going to address me. It's not this authoritative position and I need to be the tough guy in my home. This is my kingdom. These are my rules. This is how I run things. And that's before she was 18. Cool. If you're going to date my daughter, I'm not going to just have some kid. Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah. No. Because that's not who we are as a family, and I'm not going to let that in there. Guess what? You could be like that to your parents here. What's up? What's new? What's going on in your life? We're going to have these conversations. Yeah. But that's also me setting the standard for my daughters. You hear your boys out here on the mopeds and everything?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. But I appreciate it. And that's where I think those conversations of being vulnerable and being able to sit down with your kids. And that's why it was so important when we did that episode, man. I was like, I didn't know where it was going to go. It was our first time doing it, and it was the most real shit ever. I hated that I bawled the whole entire time. That was because I was fasting. I was deep into my fast. I'll say that.
Yeah, right. That's your kryptonite.
She is my kryptonite.
Mine is too.
It's hard, man. It's hard. I was just talking to a neighbor the other day about he's got a daughter same age, and he's out tinkering, and I was walking into the gym, and was like, how's life, man? He's like, good. And we bullshit for a little bit. I was like, how's the dad life? Because he's only got one daughter. And I was like, how are you holding up? He goes, not good, man. I was like, me neither, bro. And I was like, what were you struggling? He's like, dude. And you look at your daughters, man, and they're always going to be that little girl.
That's right.
And then one day you just, I don't know. It's just, it sucks.
It's the same. It's the same with the boys too.
Yeah.
It's different, obviously, but they all got their things, right? They all got their strengths and their weaknesses, and I can kind of tell where, if they were to be taken advantage of, where it would be, or where they will strive, where it would be. I could see where people could manipulate in different ways, and I pray for that not to happen. And one thing I tell my daughter Savannah all the time is like, every day I pray for your husband. Mm-hmm. He's out there. Yep. He's somewhere, and I'm praying for him every single day, because that job is so important, and I want you guys to find each other, and I want it to be exactly what it's supposed to be. Yep. And then same with the boys and their wives. Like, don't find yourself a girlfriend, find yourself a wife, find yourself a husband, right? Mm-hmm. And I beat it into their heads. Like, you talked to him last night, it was great. It's like, that's probably not going to happen in high school, right? You're dumb.
Everybody's dumb.
You're so dumb. And like, people don't even know who they are, right? And
I didn't know who I was until I was like in my 30s. I feel like
it's still searching, trying to figure it out, right? Like, still figuring, and like new things get added with kids, and then then you're gonna have the grandfather realm, like then you're gonna learn more about that, like so that's it's insane.
But it's really important that to be able to. This is where I think a lot of guys miss the boat, especially even religious men, Christians, whatever. Yeah. You should be praying for your daughter's husband now.
Yeah. Not acting like it's not going to happen. It's going to happen.
I pray.
Right.
God, I need you working on the hearts of my daughter's husbands now.
Right now.
Start working, building them now. Yeah. Why am I going to wait till she's out of my home and doing her own thing, and I have no idea who she's dating? And
right.
I hope it never comes to that, but as even for if I had sons, be sculpting my son's wives now, building them now for the future, their future that they can build together. And I feel a lot of us nobody talks about that.
Nobody does.
Why would you not want to, especially if you believe and you have this God we pray to and we depend everything on? You're not going to be praying for the future of your kids' marriages, which are one of the most sacred, greatest gifts that you're ever going to be presented with, and we don't want to help along the way with just prayer. One of the simplest things, and that's where I'm glad you do that, dude. And it's hard as a dad, and like, why, when I first started doing it, it was super awkward. Why am I praying for my 10-year-old daughter's husband? Yeah, and it sounds weird, but if I'm a true believer, why would I not want that for her? Why would I not want her to meet some young man? It's
like the same thing. Why would you wait till Monday to start at the gym? Right? Like it's not going to hurt anything praying more. If anything, you'd think it would compound on itself. I don't know. The praying earlier, getting used to it. What am I praying for? Honing those prayers down, and I think letting them know that that's exactly what I'm doing. And I do it with them sometimes, Yep.
I need to do that more with the family. My wife and I pray together, but it's one of those things. As the man of the house, I truly feel to bring your family even tighter, and we need to do it much more, is to pray together. Yeah. And show true vulnerability. I feel most men miss that boat. Not even just the praying together, it's just to be able to show your children how vulnerable their dad is, where they can look and be like, oh shit, my dad is human. Because your kids, they look at us as superheroes. If you're doing it right, dude. I think my youngest daughter might even still believe that I can pick a house up. She's always thought dad's a superhero. But then when they could see you at your most vulnerable moments and being true to yourself and who you are,
right?
Why would you not? The relationship that you're gonna build and bond and lay the foundation for, it'll be unbreakable as they get older. Like, why would? And that's where it's just a lot of guys feel it's too late. And I always tell them it's never too late to start building this relationship and start communicating with your children, even if they're out of the house. Start now, because you're going to be 80 one day and laying on your deathbed. And who do you want them beside your bed? I do. That's my main goal. And so it's just start the conversations, start asking the questions and letting them talk and letting them answer. And that was a big thing with her, is like, I just needed to learn to shut up and let her talk.
Yeah.
For the longest time, because no, this is how you need to you. This is how you. Nope.
Right.
Nope.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it, and especially the challenges as they get older. I mean, we can't imagine. I mean, we're in for it, obviously, but it's gonna happen. I already know. I mean, my daughter's full of hell already, so
it's fun.
It'll be interesting. But one thing I'd like to touch on before we get too close to the end is where we touched on a lot of stuff about the family and everything, but I want to let you know where everyone's at today.
That's where I was just going to go with it. What's life like today now that you asked God the dangerous question, a dangerous prayer?
Dangerous prayer.
In the hospital, as your wife and unborn child are going through some problems, he answered your prayer.
Answered my prayer.
What's that like? What's life been like for you since?
We got through the postpartum thing with my wife, which really made me like become obsessed with my Bible. We gave up the grow. We went through the hard time with the dealing with the money of starting the new business and the slow money and all that stuff. And
for sure,
raising these kids up at the same time. I started doing jiu-jitsu, and I met a dude there that invited me to his church. And I went to his church, and I went there Sunday morning, and he was actually the pastor. And so he was kicking my ass all week in the MMA gym. I told him for like 4 weeks. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'll go, whatever, And finally I went, and I looked up, and I'm like, what are you doing up there? And he's like, oh, I'm going to deliver the message today. He delivered a message that was perfect for me, because every church I had been to is just like, hey, I was like, oh, yeah, I know what he's doing during the week. He looks squeaky clean today, but, he's... asshole and whatever, the fruits, I could see them, and they weren't what I was looking for. So we joined a church, and we went there. It was kind of like a ragtag group of people, and I started bringing my family in. I was the first one. I brought in my sister and her husband and my dad and my mom and my wife's mother and father have always believed, but they kind of got distant from church, and because we weren't really. So brought them in, and everybody kind of my parents and sister found their faith for the first time, and it lit the fire for Lindsay's family, which was awesome. And our memorial that we have on August, it's usually the 12th or 13th every year, went from a party of destruction and hell raising to like, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. We did like live baptisms so it's like completely changed to, every year around that time, there's a family in our community that needs help, and we just do a fundraiser for them and try to show them what God's hands and feet are supposed to be doing. And it's not pretty, but it's like, that's not what you need in those times when you're going through trauma. You don't need a cookie cutter person telling you, hey, it's going to be okay. You need a bunch of crazy people like around you praying. And like, if you want to stay up and cry all night, we'll light the fire and we'll sit here with you. Like, that's what it's all about. We'll check in. We'll send that text. Hey, how are you doing? Mm-hmm. Are you good? Whatever. My mother,
how is she doing?
She got baptized.
How's your mom doing overall?
She's definitely found Jesus.
Good.
She's forgiven herself.
Good.
She's finding her purpose. She's looking for what her purpose is right now. And like, I kind of know what it is, but it's like one of those things where she's stubborn like me and it needs to be her idea.
Yep.
She has a lot of wisdom to give to these grandkids. I don't think she thinks she knows. I don't think she like necessarily believes that yet. But we bought a farm together. I'm renovating a farmhouse, and we're all going to live on the same property.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Your mom and dad never could reconnect after the divorce?
They got remarried at the memorial event like 4 years after. Yeah.
God shit.
Yeah.
God shit, bro. There's no other way to explain it. We God shit.
It's all it is, dude. It's all
That's
it
the
is.
only way to put it. I know there's probably some really deep, hardcore Christians out there that hear that and hate it, but that's dude. There's so many things that happen. You're like that. There's no way explaining it. Coincidences don't. I don't believe in coincidences, and that's why I asked. I was in my mind. I'm like, God, dude. I hope they came back together. That's why I wanted to ask that question.
Yeah, and they and
So your parents are back together.
Yeah,
How dope is that?
it's really awesome now. At the time, I was like kind of pissed off because I'm like, we still have all this shit we haven't talked about, right?
That'll come, but you guys are working.
Right,
It's
right.
coming.
At the time, I was just like, let's talk about, like, tell me everything that happened, because I was like, this, you left, you gone, you went here, and then
everybody went to the
now
wings.
it doesn't matter. It is what it is, and they are awesome grandparents to the kids, and my sister has 3 children, and I have 3 children, and now we're gonna be like 200 yards from my mom's doorstep, which she loves, absolutely loves. My mom's a school nurse in a school that is like pretty high poverty, and she's like the light of that place. Like all the troubled, like land of the misfit toys, they come to her office, and she's just like freaking gives them time, like talks to them, and anything that they need. Like it's really cool to see.
Good.
My dad has a real estate company, and does a very good job at, like, he's the owner, right? He's got like 40 people working for him, and like he still gives all the leads to his people. So it's cool. Like he's walking it out. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to be like, oh, that listing's $3 million, I'll take that one. But he'll be like, hey, new girl, or whatever, right? Like he's very generous. So they are we all came together and started a nonprofit called My Brother's Keeper, and we do the memorial. We do some events, but we do the memorial. We try to, like I said, we try to raise money for one family at least a year, and do something. There's always something. There's always something crazy that happens that we're just like, all right, this is the one. Everybody kind of gets together.
Like local, somebody falls on hard times and you're taking care of them locally type of deal?
Every time.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what it is. And
Awesome.
like we've had events where we do it right at the farm too. And one of the cool things is like, it's not normal, but we pray before everyone, right? Like people that normally don't hear prayer. We got Christian worship playing, which isn't like, I don't really get into like the old school Catholic type. It's like newer,
like hymns and
Josiah Queen stuff. Like I like that stuff. Like that will be playing. So the people that are new will be like, oh, that's kind of like, nice or whatever. And they're actually listen rather than, some old hymn or, it's just,
I feel you.
I like to keep it up and going. But we've had many people leave and just be like, dude, there's something different about this place. And it's like, yeah, like the prayer and the fight has been ingrained in this place, and like it truly is a real place of peace. At the farm and at the barn, and we do our big event in August, and then we jump right into hunting season, and that's what my whole family does all in November. We're all there for the whole month. That's hunting whitetail,
whacking and stacking, huh?
Just knowing, like, no matter what day it is, you go over to my dad's and there's 4 people in the living room with Orange on, it's just hanging, talking.
Yep.
I'm
so glad you guys were able to bring the family back together.
It really did come back together, and like the family curse from both sides, my wife's and mine, I'm hoping that leaves with us, because my boys are very different than I was, and I'm so grateful for that. Because like if I was out there doing what they're doing right now, I would be breaking someone's shit for sure. Yeah. Just because I was a little dink, but that's not them, and I know that's not them, and that's not my sister's kids either, and they're great kids. They're great human beings, and it's really cool, and you probably get it too. Every once in a while, someone will remind you where you came from. Kind of makes you feel like shit, but it's.
I try to remind myself daily.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Keeps me from ever going back down those roads.
Right. Right. Well, like, like I said, when I have these weird rules with my kids, what they can and can't do, a lot of people are like, what? You when you were a kid? And I'm like, well,
Exactly. That's why
yeah,
I
I
have
don't want to
rules.
do that. That's so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So just passing that on to the youth, my players. I'm going to coach baseball as long as I can. I know there'll be a time I can't because they'll be past my knowledge level of little league. No, but I try to do it with hunting or whatever God blesses me with the day of how to connect to mostly young men.
Yeah.
I don't obviously don't connect the same with my daughter's friends. It's just
No.
it's a different thing.
For sure.
I try to like push my wife into being like, hey, check in and see what's girl stuff.
Yeah, that's not a role. That's even on that's the wife deal. That's sometimes I don't ever wish I had sons, but there's sometimes like if I did, it would be nice that I could help mentor their friends. That would be a huge thing for me. I would love to do is
Dude, my older son's, it's tough because he'll be like, are you all right? Is everything okay? You seemed a little pissed when you got home. Do you need to talk?
That's a homeschool kid.
And I'm like, I don't know if you're ready for this.
Buckle up, kid.
Yeah, right.
But that's an advantage of having a homeschool kid. Your kids are in your shit 24/7. Is that you can't hide that, or they know immediately when the mood's off, when something's wrong, and they're, what's going on? What's happened? What do we miss?
And I encourage them to ask.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want you just thinking I'm mad and you have to stay away from me ever in your life. Ever in your life. Like I see a lot of kids like avoid parents. And yeah, it's like it's so hard sometimes. I don't know if you've ever like let out slack and had to get it back. We've done that with like screens and TV before.
That we call it yanking the chain here at the house.
Yeah, exactly.
You're almost like you're correcting a dog in a way. Those are some of the hardest things as a parent that I truly feel is when you got to pull the chain back, and when they start getting, I don't want to say complacent or lazy.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then they start being assholes and they don't know why they are.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, we need to remove this. And I'm like, oh, look, my kid's back.
Yep. Where the little attitude starts.
Yeah.
Nope. Even though it's not major, that is where you're an intentional parent. We're done.
Yeah.
This attitude, no.
Oh, you just said no to your mom? Okay.
Yeah. Why? No, absolutely not.
This isn't normal.
No.
You've had a little bit more of this. Is it that?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like,
There's always something. There's always a root. But most parents, we're buried in our phones. We're buried in our work. We're buried in everybody else's life but our kids.
yeah, let me just write this contract. And I'll
Hold on. I'll be right there. But then guess what? That little attitude never got corrected. They got away with it.
Yeah,
And then it happens again. They get away with it again. And then guess what? Now it's part of them.
I know.
Instead of immediately no. That's a big thing we do in this home. We correct it there on the spot.
No matter how big or small.
It's being corrected right then and there.
Right. Cinder block in the driveway.
Cinder block.
Right. Yeah.
And then before you know it, you're driving over cinder blocks with the lights off.
They were correcting the neighborhood.
The best part. Yeah. But yeah, that all comes back down to being an intentional parent and then your kid. I see these kids, these young boys like swing and try to hit their mom. And a dad just stands there.
Yes.
You want to talk about the most disrespectful thing you could ever allow somebody to do to your wife?
Dude, no.
That you're going to be your life partner. You're supposed to be your best friend. Somebody you took vows to. You're going to let your son disrespect your wife like that?
No.
And then the wife wants to correct the father for correcting the son?
That's
good luck.
That's the other thing.
Good luck. These women that want to correct their husbands for taking charge and disciplining their sons. We don't talk to them like that.
This is something that Lindsay and we've had a conversation with about recently is in public, don't correct me, but at home.
All day.
Talk to me at home and I'll fix it. But the second you step in for that young man,
done.
He's going to you.
He now has good cop, bad cop.
That's
he
exactly.
Now has an angle. But when he looks at mom and mom's like, you deserve this, then he knows, oh, there's no safe space. I can't be a little shit.
Right.
And then go run the mom every time because mom's going to save me. But the moms do.
Yes.
Hey, do we have to? Yes, I have to address this. And I've addressed it 4 other times. That's why it's now being escalated.
Oh, sure.
This is why you're losing everything in your room. This is why you now are X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Because you allowed this to happen multiple times. And then it's just a pattern. And then now you're allowing your children. That's the whole game of children, is to find the little button, what little loophole. Not intentionally.
No, just the boundary. Where is it?
How, as a kid is figuring out life.
Yeah.
Mom and dad should be the bumpers on the bowling alley.
That's right.
And your kid should just bing, bing, bing. And the whole way you're like, nope, nope. And they're just getting bounced past the whole way through life until they line out and they figure it out.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing is, oh, you're acting like a little shit? Absolutely not. I'm going to snatch it up. Well, mom's going to save me. Mom's not going to save you. So now they have to figure out, okay, if I do that again, I don't have mom's support.
That's right.
I can't talk to mom like this or I'm going to get the shit smacked out of me or whatever happens.
We're not going to be able to go on that fun camping trip and you can be with the boys like with me or my friends and let a little bit loose. Let the leash out with the kids on the camping trip. You don't get to do that anymore because you were a little jerk.
Yep.
Right.
But it comes to standing your ground. And when you say something, this is where I see a lot of parents. This is where a lot of parents fail is when you do that again. You're not hanging out with your friends. They do it again. That's it. You're not hanging out with your friends. And then later that day, they're back hanging out with their friends. You have no validation in the word that you're saying to your child. And that sucks as a parent. This happens again. It's going away. Guess what? It happens again. As the parent, I'm not looking forward to taking away whatever I threatened it with or whatever. It sucks, man. It sucks.
Because most of the time I want to do it too.
100%.
Yeah. I want to go bowling.
But those are those life lessons that I told you. These are the rules. These are my standards. We're not crazy. It's not some dictatorship in this house. But hey, a perfect example. Hey, I want you home at 10 o'clock. You come home at 10:15. It's only 15 minutes. But what time did I say?
Right.
That means you weren't paying attention. You weren't time managing. And you didn't keep track of time for the one rule that I have.
Right.
Guess what? Now your time is 9:30. And then that time sticks. But absolutely not.
And if they were to call you and tell you, you'd probably be cool with it.
Every single time. Hey, Dad. Oh my God, it's so much fun. Can I just have extra? Yeah, kid. Absolutely. Have I ever said no? Maybe there's a couple times I may have said no. But that was just the absolute no, because every time I say yes, but she needs to know that feeling. And then I want her to be like, but the process, well, why did Dad say no? Hey, you know, it's a school night. Why don't we get to bed early tonight?
Yeah.
You've been running hard for a few days. Let's let our bodies rest. There's your answer, what you needed to know. But that goes down to the simple, this was my time. Now it's disrespectful.
Right.
You weren't paying attention. You lost track of time. And I get it. It's not going to be a huge deal, but hey, what time did I say? 10 o'clock? Well, what time is it? Well, it's 10:15. Now your time is 9:30, because if you can't make 10 o'clock, maybe we can make 9:30. But then after times it's 9:30 that she's hitting them all. Hey, you know what? Thanks for proving that we learned our lesson. I'm not going to say it like this, but in my mind, hey, she's learned. Hey, you know what? Back to 10 o'clock. And guess what? I get the notification. 9:58, bring, and that's teaching her time management.
Sure.
In the back of her head, I got to be home at this time. I need to be on the road by this time. I'm 40 minutes from home. Okay. Oh, then that's when she calls. Dad, hey, I'm 35 minutes away. Can I leave at 10 o'clock? Absolutely, kid.
Yeah.
Just be safe. But that's how you have to have that give take.
Right.
She has the ability or the confidence to call me. She knows, Dad, can I, because I never say no. And you know, but I just said, there's a couple of times where it's just, I want them to know, no, you're not going to get it every time.
Right.
But that's one of those things of being a parent, of running your house fair and just being just. If I say something, that's it. You might not understand it now, but there's going to be a time I need you here now.
And sometimes I just want to see you.
And
that needs to be okay.
And that 100%. But it could be, hey, you need to get to this location now. And this isn't, okay, yeah. And then she's bullshitting. She knows my dad said I need to be here now. That means I need to be here now because what he says matters.
Right.
And it's almost training your kids for the future. If there ever was a problem, there's ever something I need them to listen to, they're never going to hesitate because they know how we've been raised. They know that I'm fair. I'm just. I'm not going to just be an asshole just to be an asshole. But hey, I gave you these guidelines and you couldn't follow them. I want my kids to follow those guidelines, and that's going to help with life. And so, but that's where these parents are like, well, I told you to be home at 10 and it was 11:30. I'll do better next time, Mom. Well, there's not going to be a next time. Because guess what? That phone you have is mine. The car you have is mine. Everything is mine. If you're not going to respect everything that I allow you to use, that all goes away.
Right. I had a player tell his mom before a game, "Fuck you."
Oh, done.
And I told her, I said, he's not playing. This is what he loves the most. He's not playing today.
Yep.
We were down at a tournament. And she goes, okay. So we played the first game. And before the second game, she goes, you think he could go in for 2 at-bats and like a couple innings? Because I don't have anything to put on Facebook from the weekend.
That's her priority.
I looked at her like this. I was like, are you serious? is this a joke? And she's like looking around all nervous. I was like, you're joking. Please tell me you're kidding. This is a joke.
And she's not even registering what she's saying.
And she's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, no, he's not playing today. He's not playing today. I'm sorry. You're not posting on your Facebook. And I'm like, am I punishing 2 people right now?
Why don't you just post about the team?
Why don't you just not post? Why don't you check in?
For sure. But like, if it's that important, it has to be her kid.
Kid's
Why
been
aren't you
living off of
supporting the
donuts
team?
and Swedish fish and pool time. Of course she's going to say, fuck you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if my kid said that, I would have probably put him in the truck and we'd have been just going home.
Oh.
I would have been like, I don't even know. I don't even know what I would do.
I don't either. I don't think my mom, my wife and I have ever been put in that situation.
No.
Because of the respect that we've raised our kids with, of having those open conversations, having that relationship and dialogue with your kids that they're never going to disrespect you. That's where it comes down to, just being an intentional parent. Who you are as a dad, and last night seeing how your boys are, telling the wife, came in and I was like, yeah, he brought his son. She's like, how are they? It's like, dude, they can hold a full conversation. They sat there at the table the whole entire night.
Oh, Waylon was intrigued the whole time.
But the fact that those kids are able to do that.
Willie's thinking about golf.
That's perfect. Hey, it could be worse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But no, it's just like you said, the distractions. It's like, are we just pumping out kids to say that we have them and post them online? Right? Because like, to me, it's like war. If you think about what it means to be a dad and a father, and
100% a war.
This old man gave me this advice, and we were at church one day and he comes up to me, he goes, hey, your boys act pretty good. One piece of advice I'd give you, don't hit them, but make sure they know you might.
Absolutely.
I was like, okay. I was like, he's like, young men need to know that, right? Because I tell my boys, in the real world, you say certain things and you do certain actions. It's kind of faded now, but like when I was in high school, you expect to be punched. You expect to be hit. You expect to be grabbed if you cross a line. And as a young man between the ages of 12 and 18, you're figuring out what that line is, and you're going to get punched and you're going to get hit and you're going to do the punching and you're going to do the hitting. But by the time you're about 20, you should know. You don't say something ignorant to someone's wife. You don't disrespect them. You can joke and play all you want. But there is a line. There is an unwritten line, and it is different for everybody. You just have to be careful with it.
Absolutely.
You have to be so careful.
Absolutely.
And that's why you should operate in respect as much as you can. Even if, that's the great thing about sports. They talk so much shit back and forth. And I look at him, I said, dude, you say that in the parking lot, it might be a different story when there's no umpires and coaches around. I was like, that was downright rude. Like some of the stuff, they'll push it. Obviously,
sure.
They're boys.
They're watching all the athletes and the college kids
Which
now.
is the worst.
Now these college kids are all sponsored and little shitheads. So now these young kids are watching that and the sport. The sports
That's why I do have them do team sports, but I do push martial arts on them hard.
Good.
That's why I made them wrestle.
Yep.
It's like that dude that just crumpled you into a pretzel might be the dude you're calling a bitch because he don't look like anything. A lot of the great jiu-jitsu athletes, they don't really look like a whole lot at times.
No.
They got they're like nerdy. They're like computer nerds.
Most of them are.
Yeah. And they can
IT guy that has
wrap
all the
their
time.
leg around their head 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Right. And then like the dude that's the middle linebacker for Boise, he's getting killed. Like
Every
he'll
time.
come in yoked and
Every time.
just get destroyed. It's
a very humbling
and I told my boys, I said, this is how the world exactly works. You never know who's across from you.
Nope. Last question for you, man.
Sure.
If you want the world to know one thing about you, what would that be?
One thing about me would be I am working on it every single day. That's it. It's not perfect. Still screw up a lot, but I mentally, in my mind, in my heart, every day, I'm working on what does this walk with Jesus truly look like? Because it's not what a lot of the church sells, and it's not what I would say religion is. I have a lot of people I talk to, and it is about what is that text saying to you in your heart, and that is okay. It is okay that it's not the same as everybody else all of the time. It's a completely different thing to other people. Do you need to have mentors that speak into you and pray for you? 100%, I believe it. But it is this Christianity thing in the United States. It's not what it is in other countries. It's so pretty here that it's disgusting, you know. And it's not that. Like the battle is ugly, and it's gross, and it's okay. And I think it's okay to say what we struggle with, even with how gross it is, and you can still believe in God. You know, I had this conversation with a man the other day about praying. He said he doesn't believe, and I said, there kind of has to be a God, right? And he's like, well, yeah, someone had to create everything. I said, okay, well, if there is a God and he is all powerful, your words should be heard by him. And if praying is the way that he hears your words, even if you didn't believe, wouldn't it be worth your time to just ask him every single day to just help you? Because I don't think you can get through this life without saying that there's something in control of it. And I tell everybody, I became a believer when I asked, and then he gave me gifts that I cannot explain. And I'm just like, how else do you explain it? Do you explain it by happenstance? Just shit happens for.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle, bro.
Especially the bad shit. When I look back on the bad shit, like, a guy asked me the other day, like, reflecting on all this, you know, what do you think? If you could bring your brother back, would you? I said, I can't. I want to have my kids. I want to have my wife. I want to have my life. I would never ask for a second for it to change. I would, and I pray for that. My parents and my sister and everybody that's around me would kind of understand that too. It's like the Disney answer is yes, of course. I wish he was sitting with me here today, but it's like that was a lesson that there's no way I could have ever learned that without going through all that shit. There's no way.
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for this conversation.
Yeah, it was good.
Different, huh?
Very.
A little bit different than the other podcasts you've been on.
Yeah, go back and watch them. Probably don't want to. Bad.
Yeah. Different chapters.
Yeah. I actually think they're all gone. So that's good.
Oh, really?
I don't think they're up anymore. Thank God.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks for this conversation.
Thank you, too.
I'm really happy that your family made it back together.
I
don't think mine stand a chance, unfortunately. I think
but
the damage is done. I think a lot of it comes from my mom and just who she is and who she's become. And my sister's just next in line, so I can't. It's not like I could reach in, but nobody talks in my family. That's why.
Do you think they've seen the change in your heart?
They never will. I've always been the black sheep. I've always been the piece of shit to them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But they must see your life.
No.
Not online?
They don't watch anything, dude. No. They've never bought a single loaf of bread from my daughter. Grandparents, right? They have no problem posting all the other ones on all the how great everybody is and how great their life is. They've never ordered a single loaf of bread from my daughter to support her. I bought them both brand new iPhones and a truck just to be able to see their other grandkids in town, to be able to FaceTime my kids. They'll call the other grandkids. They'll never even call my own kids. They never even call me. I'm paying their phone bills, brand new phones.
Yeah, it's
just for the opportunity.
It's what you need to do. It's what you need to go through to bury the curse, unfortunately. And then the hard part is, and I'll be praying for this for you too, that can heal in you, even if they don't.
Honestly, yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And where I'm at in my life is just, it sucks, dude. I wish I had a relationship with my dad.
Yeah.
I feel my dad's he's lost his way, and I don't want to call him a coward.
I just hope that doesn't affect your relationship with God.
Oh, absolutely not. This is what's sad about it, is my relationship that I have now with God, with my family, with my wife, is the greatest it's ever been. It could always be better with God, right? I'm not going to say I'm some perfect Christian. I fall short every day there, but I'm just as
key the cinder block. Yep.
just a core of who I am, right? And the chapter I'm in this life, they have no idea. They tell people that they mourn the loss of both sons. That's what they tell people.
Well, they probably do because you've become a new creation. I mean, you're not what they know. So sure,
but I've never been anything that they've known. They've always just had this image. They never call and check. They never update.
Yeah,
my mom will call and my wife every 6 months. You guys are so busy. You sit home all day and do nothing, and I pay your phone bills. You can't call or text, like my kids at least.
Right.
It's just that type of stuff. So they make no effort. They're the type of grandparents you have to go to them.
I get that.
My brother's widow lives 15, 20 minutes from my parents.
Mm-hmm.
They don't ever see my brother's sons. That kills me. You have grandkids that close to you? But meanwhile, she'll call my sister every single day.
But
and
imagine
bitch and gossip about it.
Imagine the hell that they live in. Right?
That's where I try to give them a lot of grace. And that's why I have to realize I have to break these chains and move on with my life.
Sure.
But it's hard for me to live because my mom lives this fantasy and my dad's like this pastor. He does this little small thing and they're the perfect little Christian family, but they have no idea that who my mom is and how rotten she is on the inside. It's just, that's how she's been for a really long time, unfortunately. And then obviously losing my brother really split everything up. But it sucks for my sister. Like I have no relationship with my sister because she's just another version of my mom. And why would I want to be anything around that? She's just this meh of a person.
Was it drugs?
No.
Your
Dude,
brother?
all three children.
No, your brother.
No, cancer.
Yeah.
Fought it for a long time. That's why we were all there when he died. And but nobody's ever talked about it. And my wife, she's like, my wife has a super fucked family. Her side of the family, that's a whole chapter and series of podcasts alone. But she's like, my family is fucked. But she's like, yours is psycho. She's like, the fact that your parents lost a son and have never talked about it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I used to watch my dad beat the shit out of my mom and nobody's ever talked about that.
Right.
Like we just bury that's just my whole life.
That didn't happen.
Say again?
That didn't happen, right?
Or
that kind of attitude.
Oh, well, it's in the past.
Yeah.
It's your dad's a different person now. Yeah, but I still remember that as a kid. And I have these huge anger issues because of that.
No trust. No safety. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. And so my wife's like, fuck no, your family's psychotic by not talking about it.
Yes.
And she's like, that's why we're going to talk about these things.
Yes.
And that's why, so she pulls that out in me. And dude, we're able to talk about things, but I'm like, I'm over here thinking, dude.
So you're the first one in your family that can talk about stuff like that.
Everything.
That's wonderful.
Everything. It feels incredible too.
Yeah.
I could talk about it with my kids.
Right.
My kids know everything that's going on in my life. I don't have to hide things. I don't have to live some life to where they don't know what's going on. I don't know, dude. It's very fascinating. I feel really bad. I have peace in my life. Would I want a relationship with my mom? I haven't had a relationship with my mom since I was a teenager. We've been at it. And so I think that was a huge reason of joining the military. I had to get out of there. I just couldn't do it anymore. And we've never fixed it. Every time I'd go home on vacation, we'd have giant blow up fights where we're cussing each other out. And I told my mom I hated her years ago. It was so bad. Dude, my brother's widow brought this up actually not too. Oh, and that's another thing. My parents hate the fact that my brother's wife, his widow, and I have a relationship now. The whole family's falling apart. Her and I have feuded our whole entire lives.
Sure.
Then my brother dies and it brings her and I closer together and my whole family falls apart. So that drives my mom nuts, knowing that I have a relationship with my brother's sons and his wife because she was the wedge that was driven between my brother and I.
And it's weird because some people want those feuds to go on forever.
That's my mom.
Yeah.
Now that and in comms with my brother's widow, we talk about incidences and we get both sides. We're like, the common denominator every single time is my mom.
Yeah.
Of the games, the drama, the shit talking. But this isn't, and I've called her out before. I'm like, Mom, you're gossiping. You want to call me out on every sin that I do. I'm like, you're gossiping about people in your congregation. It's just a conversation with your father, my husband. This is private conversation, it's not gossiping. I'm like, you're gossiping. Like, you're still talking about people. And she's done that her whole entire life. And I think that's a huge reason why most people don't ever want to be around them, because that's all it is.
That's why most people don't want to go to church.
100%. I hate to say this, but my parents are the epitome of everything that I would not want to be and be around in a church.
You know how many men's groups I got kicked out of?
That's why I don't do men's groups. That's why I started my own private community.
Yeah. The last one, they were gossiping about like a man and a woman going through a divorce because she was unfaithful, right? And they were like talking about they can't be members because of this and all this shit. But
meanwhile, they're going home jerking off the porn.
Not that. I go, okay, So in the Bible, from my understanding, I know I'm new to this, right? All sin is created equal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, 100%. I go, you're 350 pounds.
Yeah, you're a glutton.
And he goes, what? And I go, you're wearing your sin on your body. At least they can say everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
Is this no different? Well, that's just not something, that's just downright rude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I think what you're talking about, these people behind their backs, that's rude.
Yeah, theatric Christians.
Yeah.
The theatrical Christian, everything's perfect until you can point the finger at somebody.
Yeah.
And that's why I have such a huge problem with Christians, is because I can't relate to a lot of them because they want to gossip and they want to bitch about everybody else. But I'm like, dude, you just sit here talking about how you're sneaking off and watching porn while your wife's cooking dinner, or you're doing drugs, or you're chasing whatever.
Or I'm watching you like check out a 17-year-old girl. Like don't get me wrong.
Don't get me started on that
Don't
shit.
get me wrong. Every once in a while I'll be like, oh God, to be honest, I'm like, why does she have to wear that?
Oh, for
That's
sure.
how I get. Like,
For sure.
Like I don't even go to the gym anymore.
Dude, wait until your daughters start getting looked at.
Well, I tell my sons and my daughter, I'm like, watch this. Watch this. He's going to watch this. You don't want to be looked at like that.
Mm-hmm. I tell them all the time, watch these guys turn around when we walk by them. They'll all be looking.
Yeah. And I told I had that conversation with my wife. I'm like, I'm going to be really blunt with you. If you wear that shit to the gym, those dudes are going to try to sneak a picture and they're going to be jerking off through it tonight. She's like, no way, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Lindsay, I know guys. I know what they do. I know how this all works. It's like, I don't want guys lusting over my wife. Like I just...
It shouldn't have to, though.
No, I know.
You know?
But that's...
But wait till your 16, 17-year-old daughter's walking in front of you in the airport and you see all these dudes just... And then the way they position themselves so they can walk by and already be looking.
Yeah.
That'll change everything.
I hate it. I already hate it.
But meanwhile, that's that Christian dude. He's at church every Sunday.
Yeah.
Right? But he's judging me for my
he's
sins.
he's wearing the he is risen shirt or whatever, you know, like...
As you stare at this young girl walking by.
Right.
Where you're in the gym. I see you at Rock Harbor. Oh, you just stared at this teenage girl the whole entire time. But I see that dude every week at Rock Harbor.
Right. And
You're
it's
gonna
not
judge me.
It's not that look where you're like, oh, I think I recognize her. It's like, you know, you could tell.
There's one thing to look.
Right.
One time.
Yeah.
I scan, dude, my line of work where I've come, my history, I'm scanning everything.
Oh, sure.
You should know. Okay, I know that girl and what she's wearing, this bright blue and her asshole's hanging out. And okay, I don't need to constantly be, but then you start watching. I know where she is, but I can watch everybody else in the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but then I talk about my sins.
Yeah.
Lust being my sin.
Sure, 100%.
But then you're going to judge me for that?
Yeah.
Let's that's why I want to be like, hey, let's lay our sins out on the table. Let's see yours. Let's see your search browser history.
Sure.
Why don't you show that up?
100%.
But you're going to judge me. That's my problem with Christians, man. That's why
that's everyone's problem with them. That's everyone's problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
why can't we just be real and accept that we're all sinners? Talk about it. How do you get better? How do you fix your problems when you're judging everybody else's for theirs?
So I started bringing these people to this church, right? Dude, this guy, I've been trying to go to church for a minute, right? He literally ashes a blunt out, parks in the handicap parking spot.
What type of people?
And rolls in, dude. And you should have seen the looks. And people start talking. And these guys that are in the Bible study, I go, is this not a hospital for the sick? What are you guys doing just not greeting this man? He's showing you openly where his wounds are laying, right? To me, that's more vulnerable than him wearing a suit, wearing Axe body spray, getting deodorant on. He's like, I'm broken. I just smoked a bunch of weed. He's probably hungover, but he's with his hands open saying, I need something. I'm like, that takes balls in my book, you know? Not showing up looking pretty and then...
Cool. Then going home and going right back to what you were doing.
Right. And then the other side of it is this poverty mindset that you need to be poor to be a good Christian. That's the other part that drives me insane. Right? Like, it's like virtue signaling. Like,
I don't chase. That's a really tough one because my wife, we don't go back and forth with it, but she's just like, money doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, I understand that. Like, I don't want to chase money, but I also don't want to just live in this level where we're at. And then it's like, but how do you find that balance to get you out of the next tax bracket or into the next tax bracket without idolizing the dollar and putting it before Jesus?
Yeah, but read the parable, like read about the talents, right? Like, some people are only one and some people are 5, right? You're given gifts. If you're given a gift and you're supposed to be doing something, like you shouldn't be burying it, right? There's the parable of the talents, and then there's the tenants, right? Right? You familiar with that scripture? So basically, the master gives one guy 1, one guy 3, one guy 5. The guy with the 1 buries it to save it for when his master returns. The guy that has 3 brings it out and gets 3 more, and the guy that has 5 brings it out and gets 5 more, right? And so they get praised for going out and putting their faith in their God, and then doubling what he has given to them, and they give it all back to him. And then he shames the man that buries the 1 because he was afraid to lose it. And there's so many Christians out there that have so little, and they're so afraid to lose it that they never truly go walk their mission. They're holding it all back. And what that scripture is saying is, like, it's equally as bad for you not to take the gifts that you have had and give them for the glory of the kingdom. Like some people just have a motor in them and are going to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And how many miracles could you give out with more money? It's not about you, right? It's not about your ego. It's about, like, you could thousands of dollars is somebody's miracle today. Hundreds, probably. I don't even know. A meal, yeah. Yeah. By you putting in a little bit more work, how many meals could you give? That's a lot of miracles.
But are they actually giving, or are they hoarding and they...
Well, I'm talking about you, not everyone else. Like,
for sure.
Like if you have opportunity and you have the motor, and it's not going to take you, like, because the enemy will send you projects that are going to take your eyes off of God in 2 seconds.
Absolutely.
And take your eyes off of these kids, right? But if it's truly from God, there has to be wealthy Christians. There has to be, because otherwise everyone that's rich,
full of sin.
and, like, we're just going to have more Bumble apps.
For sure.
Right.
Makes sense.
I think so.
All right, dude.
Okay. Logging off.
Thanks for this conversation, bro.
Absolutely.
You fucked that handshake up. You didn't get that one on camera, did you?
What?
That handshake, you didn't get the middle camera on that one? Good, because we messed it all up. We look like noobs.